Chapter 864, The Menghuang Tribe, Patriarch. The auction just happens to have what we need. When the auction starts, I wish that the Patriarch can accompany us and help us buy what we need, said Jian Chen. With that, a sliver of hesitancy appeared on the Dare Tribe Patriarch's face. Jian Chen understood what he was worrying about, so he followed up. Don't worry, Patriarch. We are men of our word. Since we have agreed, we will definitely do it. Once the auction ends, we will definitely help you deal with the Menghuang tribe. If the Menghuang tribe does not come, we'll kill our way into the Menghuang tribe on our own accord. Is that fine? Sure. Since the two warriors have put it like that, I will try to cooperate to the best of my ability, said the Patriarch as he smiled gently. Afterward, Jian Chen and Nubi settled down in the Dare tribe and awaited any sudden attacks from the Menghuang tribe. They were warmly welcomed by the entire tribe and treated like kings. At the same time, the news that the Dare tribe had found enough experts to deal with the Menghuang tribe was broadcasted out too. It raised quite a large commotion. Other than the grand auction of Jazz City held once every 100 years, the discussions between people now involved the battle between the Menghuang tribe and the Dare tribe. Although there was a great disparity in strength between the two tribes, they both had saint rulers. On the Tianyuan continent, they would be hermit clans, large tribes that stood at the peak in a radius of 100,000 kilometers within the territory of the sea race. The battle between the two tribes would naturally raise the attention of many people. In an ancient forest 50 kilometers from the Dare tribe, small buildings completely made from wood filled the surroundings. People constantly flowed in and out, while sounds of laughter and cheerfulness rang out from time to time. The atmosphere was extremely lively, teeming with life. This was the large tribe renowned in the region, the Menghuang tribe. In the center of the tribe stood a tall tower completely constructed from rock. The tower was the most sacred building in the tribe. Its existence represented the peace and strength that the Menghuang tribe experienced with each generation. This was because the four most powerful protectors of the tribe lived in it. Currently, 4 old men sat around a table at the very top of the tower. They were all stern. I've just received the news that the Dare tribe has found enough experts to repel us. I wonder if this is true or false, said a ruddy old man. He was the current patriarch of the tribe, while the 3 others were the 2 protector elders and the previous patriarch. The previous patriarch was the most powerful one here. Looks like the Dare tribe plans to have a battle to the death with us. I just wonder what strength the experts they've recruited possess, a protector elder said huskily. Although the Dare tribe has some wealth, it's not enough for them to invite any true experts. Also, our tribe is famed. One of our talented members have been selected to become an emissary of the Serpent God Hall. He has great status. In the territory of the Serpent God Hall, no one dares to treat us impolitely except for those peak-level tribes or clans. As such, I deduce that the Dare tribe's information is false, only made with the intent to make us fear them. The other possibility is that the helpers they've recruited don't actually want to help them and only want to con them out of their coins. As a result, I'm not going to pay any attention to this at all. As soon as the auction concludes, we'll kill our way into the Dare tribe, a protector elder analyzed. Previous patriarch, what do you think? The current patriarch asked the old man who remained sitting there with his eyes closed. The previous patriarch slowly opened his eyes. Although we're so renowned that even several large tribes need to act courteously, we're not without enemies. I am guessing that there would probably be previous enemies among the experts that have been recruited by the Dare tribe, so we can't overlook this. Now that the auction in Jazz City is about to start, the last fragment of the Octaterra map is about to appear too. It'll attract a fight from many large tribes, or even peak-level tribes, so it's inconvenient for us to start fighting before the auction. The 3 of you, go check on the Dare tribe to see whether it's true or not after the auction ends. In the blink of an eye, a dozen or so days passed. It was now the important day where the grand auction would start in Jazz City. The emergence of the Octaterra map fragment had attracted many experts and large tribes to gather in Jazz City long ago, which made it seem calm on the surface while matters surged beneath. It was the calm before the storm. Before the auction had even started, a large group of people had already gathered outside the auction center. Gazing over it, the group formed a sea of people. There were so many that even the nearby streets had become blocked. There was a constant hubbub of voices as people discussed things. A portion of the people had only come to watch, while the other portion had come for the auction. However, all those who had arrived beforehand did not possess much background. They were all people from a few small tribes or clans. 2 hours later, the loud sound set off fireworks rose up from the surroundings. A great boom followed afterward in the sky, which lit up the surroundings with colorful lights. It was quite beautiful. At the same time, the doors of the auction center were slowly opened too. The people who had crowded outside all began to move inward, entering the auction center in an orderly fashion. Around 30 meters up the huge auction castle, a round platform 100 meters wide slowly extended outward. It was for receiving special guests with great status and had reserved enclosure. On the platform, several dozen young girls dressed glamorously walked about gracefully. They all carried bright smiles and gave people a cordial feeling. As the platform stabilized, several waves of people flew up from the grounds, directly landing on the platform. They were warmly received by the female servants and led through a special tunnel to their enclosures. However, those who had the right to enter the platform were all prestigious members of the sea race. There were plenty of people from first-rate clans and tribes that were equivalent to hermit and ancient clans on the Tian-Yuan continent. Jian Shen and Nubis also flew over with the patriarch of the Dare tribe from far away and directly entered the platform. Immediately, a servant walked up with a shining smile and said softly, "3 esteemed warriors, please present the number plate to your private enclosure so that this one can help lead the way." The patriarch immediately pulled out the number plate to his reserved enclosure and passed it to the servant. "Warriors, please follow me." The servant girl's smile was like 100 flowers blooming, extremely pretty. The 3 of them said nothing and followed the servant inside. Besides them, many other people from different tribes were also received by a servant then led into the castle. At this very moment, the patriarch's steps paused slightly. He suddenly glanced behind him, while a glaring light began to flicker through his eyes. A sliver of obscure killing intent rose from his body. There were plenty of saint rulers among the people who could be seated on the platform. The change in the patriarch was immediately noticed by them, so many of them immediately looked over curiously. However, no one said anything. Even though the Dare tribe was not powerful, he was still a saint ruler after all. No one wanted to provoke a saint ruler for nothing. Jian Shen and Nubis also halted their steps. When they saw the behavior of the patriarch, they immediately followed his gaze. They saw that in the distance, 3 old men flew toward the platform with several heaven saint masters. The 2 of them could tell with a single glance that the 3 old men were saint rulers. Warriors, they're people from the Menghuang tribe. The 3 leading old men are the present patriarch of the tribe and the 2 protector elders, the patriarch of the Dare tribe said softly. His gaze toward them was filled with an unconcealable hatred. A sliver of interest flickered in Jian Shen and Nubis's eyes. Their gazes toward the 3 old men immediately took a cold turn. "Ha ha ha, I never thought that the patriarch of the Dare tribe would participate in the auction this time as well. It has really surprised the 3 of us." The 3 old men from the Menghuang tribe also discovered the Dare tribe patriarch's presence. Immediately, one of them laughed aloud. "Hee, didn't the Dare tribe spend all its wealth searching for experts? How would you have additional crystal coins to come participate in the auction this time?" The old man in the center laughed. He was the current patriarch. As he spoke, the 3 experts from the Menghuang tribe unconsciously studied Jian Shen and Nubis, who stood beside the patriarch of the Dare tribe. The face of the Dare tribe patriarch darkened. He sneered, "Menghuang tribe, I want to see how long you can still act so arrogantly. After the auction concludes, my Dare tribe will be awaiting your Menghuang tribe's arrival." The 3 experts' expressions changed and their eyes immediately narrowed. The current patriarch said, "Patriarch, I wonder what type of experts you have found to boast like this? The 2 warriors beside me are both powerful sea soul warriors of the 14th star. Menghuang tribe, do you really think that my Dare tribe is easy to oppress?" The patriarch sneered. As soon as they heard that Jian Chen and Nubis were 14th star Sea Soul warriors, the three old men's expressions immediately became rather ugly. They really did not think that the Dare tribe would succeed in recruiting such experts. If the Dare tribe really did gain the assistance of two 14th star Sea Soul warriors, their tribe would experience much greater difficulties in swallowing up the Dare tribe. They could even be faced with failure. The three old men immediately focused their attention on Jian Chen and Nubis. The patriarch of the Menghuang tribe said, "May I inquire the names of these two warriors?" Jian Chen glanced indifferently at the three experts from the Menghuang tribe. He did not pay much attention to them, turning around and speaking to Nubis and the Dare tribe patriarch, "Let's go in. The auction's about to start." "You are right. The auction's starting soon. We can't afford to waste time with the people from the Menghuang tribe. Let's go, let's go." The patriarch of the Menghuang tribe immediately followed with what Jian Chen wanted, before they were gradually led off into the distance by the female servant. Looking at the backs of the three experts from the Menghuang tribe who had been cast aside immediately became extremely ugly. Their faces became so dark that they would be on the brink of raining if they were clouds. The two mysterious people recruited by the Dare tribe are very powerful. "I can't see through them at all," said a protector elder of the Menghuang tribe. "I can't see through them either, and I can vaguely feel a vast pressure from the two of them. They're definitely Sea Soul warriors of the 14th star. Looks like the Dare tribe really has found the strength to deal with us," said the other protector elder. Chapter 865. The auction begins. It'll be extremely disadvantageous to us when experts like that help the Dare tribe. Since they've been drawn to the Dare tribe by crystal coins, I wonder if we can draw them over to us with an even greater price. If that's possible, our tribe's strength will increase even more again without a doubt, said a protector elder of the Menghuang tribe. The price to draw over two 14th star Sea Soul warriors definitely won't be little. It'll be at least 10 million grand quality crystal coins, but if we want to take the spiritual vein in the Dare tribe's possession, this price will be worth it, murmured the current patriarch. Afterward, he followed a servant with the two protector elders and his clansmen into the auction center. The small disruption on the platform did not affect the auction at all. When the people of both clans disappeared from the platform, it became peaceful once again. Many large tribes and organizations arrived on the platform in an orderly fashion, before being escorted away by an enthusiastic servant. The auction of Jas City was extremely grand. The 50-meter-tall castle was emptied and divided into 10 floors, where each floor was filled with seats. At the very front was the stage where objects were displayed and auctioned off. The private enclosures were built into the highest parts of the walls. It wrapped around the entire castle, separated by a special type of glass. The people inside could see exactly what was going on outside, but people outside could not look in. Within the private enclosure, Jian Chen and Nubis sat comfortably on a soft sofa with satisfied expressions. The patriarch sat beside them, studying the situation of other enclosures through the special glass. The servant who had escorted the three of them carried many delicious desserts and fruits of unknown names, which she placed on the crystal table. She said, "Warriors, these are all delicious desserts and fruits of the sea race. Please try them as you please. I am called Lan Shuiling. If the warriors require anything, this servant will do her best to fulfill the warriors' requests." Lan Shuiling smiled brightly. She exuded a special charm, while a cheerful light flowed from her bright eyes. Nubis clutched his head on the sofa, half inclined. He squinted his eyes at Lan Shuiling while his lips curled into an evil smile. He joked, "If I, the great Nubis, wants your body, will you fulfill my request too?" "Of course." Lan Shuiling smiled charmingly and began to take off her clothes slowly. It immediately revealed a great section of her water blue skin. Seeing this, Jian Chen frowned slightly. He waved his hand at Lan Shuiling. "All right, you can stop stripping. The three of us need to discuss some important matters. You can go out for now. We'll call you when we need you." "Yes, esteemed warrior." Lan Shuiling stopped taking off her clothes and bowed courteously to the three of them, before leaving with gentle steps. "What a provocative girl," murmured Nubis as he watched Lan Xueling disappear off into the distance with bright and limpid eyes. Nubis, surely you haven't taken a liking to her. Jian Chen laughed softly. Piss off. I, the great Nubis, do not take a liking for ordinary girls like that. Though you're pretty good, aren't you? To actually hook up with that devastatingly beautiful girl. Admirable, truly admirable. Nubis smiled evilly as he reached the end of these words. 2 hours later, the large center was finally filled with people. Various discussions filled the entire place like the constant buzzing of a bee. Guests. Suddenly, a bright voice rang out. It echoed through the entire center, and the voices of all those who were seated finally quietened down. In the blink of an eye, the noisy center became deathly silent. Only a large mass of people could be seen. A slightly skinny old man stood on the platform at the very front with a smile. The voice from before was his, and he was the auctioneer this time. He was a 13th star Sea Soul warrior. Guests, I welcome you warmly to the grand auction held once every 100 years. Not only will we be displaying even more treasures and worldly wonders than previous auctions, we've also received the last fragment of the Octaterra map, which has received the attention of many large tribes. The auctioneer paused slightly when he reached here, before continuing. I believe that many of the seated guests know very well about the origins of this fragment. It was left behind by the Octaterra Emperor, who once shook up the entire sea realm. The Octaterra Emperor was a cultivator of our sea realm who did not join any organizations, but he exceeded many geniuses with his own talent alone and without any master. He paved a path of corpses and bones in his life to the peak, shaking up the entire sea realm and becoming an emperor who received the respect of countless people. Although the emperor has passed away from age, the Octaterra Divine Hall he once constructed still remains. It has been sealed into a region of void by the Octaterra Emperor's absolute strength, while the Octaterra map is the route to the Divine Hall and the key that opens it. The Octaterra Emperor went without disciples, always by himself. It is rumored that when he passed away, he left his legacy and all he had learned in the Octaterra Divine Hall. I believe everyone understands extremely well what it means once they receive the legacy of the Octaterra Emperor. He has also left all his belongings in the Divine Hall aside from his legacy. Everyone, I believe you have an even better understanding than old me about just how wealthy an emperor's belongings are. That's a vast wealth only second to the 3 supreme halls of our sea realm. Hearing this, a series of haggard breaths immediately appeared in the quiet crowd. The legacy and wealth of an emperor was a great, irresistible enticement to all those present. Even the members of peak-level clans could not remain calm. Seated within the private enclosure, Jian Chen and Nubis could not help but have their hearts beat faster too. They were already deeply interested in the map fragment, while the patriarch had lost even more control compared to them. The great wealth had already dyed his eyes green with envy as he snorted roughly. However, the patriarch calmed down very quickly, gradually returning to how he was before. He knew that he had no future that would involve the map fragment. The matters regarding it were not something he could delve into. The auctioneer's voice rang out once again. 7 fragments have already appeared. This fragment will be the final one. Everyone, as long as someone obtains this map fragment, they'll gain the right to entire the Octaterra Divine Hall and gain some great blessing. Alright, I won't ramble anymore. As the main treasure for the auction this time, it'll be auctioned off last. We'll begin the auction now. The first treasure is, afterward, treasures were brought up and auctioned off one by one. The auction was only held once in 100 years, so without any doubt, all of the items were the finest of the fine. Everything brought on stage would institute a battle between many people. Various prices were called out one after another in a vicious battle of wealth. We'll now be auctioning off a ruler armament left behind by a human expert when he passed away in meditation. The starting price is 100,000 grand quality crystal coins. The auctioneer's voice rang through the entire building. Jian Chen and Nubis's eyes snapped open abruptly. They stared in the direction of the stage in interest and watched a machete being brought up carefully by a skimpily dressed servant. It really is a ruler armament. It's a ruler armament left behind by a 9th heavenly layer saint ruler. Jian Chen was secretly shocked. Every ruler armament was treated as a clan treasure by the hermit clans on the Tianyuan continent. They were extremely valuable, but he never thought that in the sea, there would be people who would auction off these extremely valuable ruler armaments. According to what I know, only human experts can use ruler armaments. Are members of the sea race able to use them just like humans? Jian Shen thought, before looking toward the patriarch of the Dare tribe. He asked, "Patriarch, may I ask exactly what the sea race uses the ruler armaments of humans for?" With that, an astonished light flashed across the patriarch's eyes. However, he still provided a detailed explanation. Esteemed warrior, the ruler armaments of human experts are a rare treasure to the sea race. This ruler armament was left behind by a 9th heavenly layer saint ruler after he passed away. Not only does it contain his strength, it also contains quite a lot of the 3 vital energies. If we absorb it, it can greatly increase our strength. Are ruler armaments able to be refined and absorbed? Jian Shen was surprised. He did not think that the sea race would have this ability too, as he could only do so with the assistance of the sword spirits. Of course you can. As long as you use the spirit converting formation of the sea race, you'll be able to refine the ruler armament into energy we can absorb. However, only we will use this method. Humans won't, because they can just use it directly and display great powers with it. For them, the strength brought on from a ruler armament is much greater than the energy gained from absorbing it, the patriarch explained. Is that so? Jian Shen reached an understanding. Members of the sea race were unable to use ruler armaments like humans, but they had methods to refine it into pure energy to absorb. 150,000 grand quality crystal coins. 180,000 grand quality crystal coins. 200,000 grand quality crystal coins. 250,000 grand quality crystal coins. The appearance of the ruler armament ignited an intense fight. The price quickly skyrocketed from 100,000 grand quality crystal coins to 500,000, and after another series of intense fights, it was sold off for a price of 800,000 grand quality crystal coins. It was bought by a large tribe. Chapter 866, Fight for the Divine Water of the World. Jian Shen shook his head. Although the crystal coins of the sea race and the purple coins from Tianyuan continent were 2 different currencies, he knew that the ruler armament was sold for too low of a price. This was all because the effect of ruler armaments was not as great to the sea race compared to humans. If it were not for the fact that Jian Shen wanted to save enough money to buy the holy water of the spirit sea, he would participate in the auction and buy the ruler armament. Even though he had no use for it himself, the people around him could use it, as it was extremely difficult to obtain a ruler armament on the Tianyuan continent. Afterward, valuable items were all auctioned off one by one. Not only were there various pills and medicines, there were also 10,000-year-old heavenly resources. However, these heavenly resources were all sold for a much lower price when compared to its price in purple coins on the Tianyuan continent. This was because purple coins were only made from a metal that was valuable due to its scarcity. The metal's only use was to make coins, unlike the crystal coins that were condensed entirely from water-attributed world essence. They could be absorbed to increase one's strength and possessed an extremely great effect. We'll be auctioning a Class 8 Radiant Spirit pill next. The pill originates from the distant Tianyuan continent, and it's a divine medicine for healing wounds. It's extremely valuable. Even heavily injured 15th star or 16th star Sea Soul warriors would only need a second for their severe injuries to heal. It's equivalent to a second life. The starting price will be 200,000 grand quality crystal coins. 300,000 grand quality crystal coins. 350,000 grand quality crystal coins. 500,000 grand quality crystal coins. Class 8 Radiant Spirit pills could only be produced on the Tianyuan continent, and only Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters could create them. Very few ever made it to the Sea Realm, so their value was obvious. As a result, the price of Class 8 Radiant Spirit pills was far greater in the Sea Realm than on the Tianyuan continent. The single pill was sold for 1,200,000 grand quality crystal coins in the end. Jian Shen squinted his eyes as he sat half inclined on the sofa. He thought to himself, I didn't think that Class 8 Radiant Spirit pills would be so valuable. A single one was sold for a great price of 1,200,000 grand quality crystal coins. Now that I'm a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master, maybe I should create some of them and exchange them for crystal coins too. The creation of the pills might need a sliver of the origin energy of Radiant Scient Force, but the artifact spirit should have plenty of it. No need to waste mine. Though a problem would be the shell of the pills. There aren't any alchemists that know how to produce the shells, so I can't create those Class 8 Radiant Spirit pills at all. Jianshan already made up his mind. If all the conditions were right, he would definitely create a few Class 8 Radiant Spirit pills. As long as he had enough pill shells, creating the pills using the artifact spirit's power should be a piece of cake. Even the legendary Class 9 Radiant Spirit pills would not be a problem. In the blink of an eye, the auction had already continued for 2 whole days. It went for the whole length of time without any breaks. Fortunately, the people who were able to sit here possessed uncanny strength. 2 days without resting, eating or drinking was unable to affect them. The object to be auctioned next is a divine object that is rarely seen even in 1,000 years, the divine water of the world. This water is only produced in the dangerous divine realm. It appears once in 1,000 years and is extremely valuable, but you cannot ignore its powerful effects. With just a mouthful, it can reborn those with ordinary talent into cultivation geniuses rarely seen even in 1,000 years with unlimited potential. Other than this, the divine water has wondrous effects on 13th and 14th star Sea Soul warriors. Not only does it increase their strength greatly, it refines their souls and allows it to become much more powerful. This builds a solid foundation for when they reach the 15th star. If a Sea Soul warrior at the peak of the 14th star consumes it, they have a very great chance of overcoming the bottleneck and breaking through to the 15th star. There's only one portion of the divine water, so please value this very rare opportunity, warriors who are seeking it. You must not miss this chance or you'll have to wait another 1,000 years. The starting price will be 500,000 grand quality crystal coins. The appearance of the divine water immediately caused Jian Chen to focus his attention. He snapped open his slightly closed eyes and sat up straight from his half-inclined position on the sofa. This was because this divine water was the holy water of the Spirit Sea he required. It was produced in the Spirit Sea but just had a different name among the sea race. Noticing Jian Chen's reaction, Nubis asked, "Is the divine water what you wanted?" Jian Chen nodded. "Correct, this is extremely important to me. I need to obtain it no matter what." The patriarch of the Dare tribe glanced at Jian Chen. He said nothing. He knew the value of the divine water and was actually worried. He was unsure whether he could buy the divine water with 10 million grand quality crystal coins. It was always rumored among the sea race that those who ingested the water had an extremely great chance of reaching the 15th star or even the 16th star. As a result, whenever it appeared, many large tribes would fight over it. The intense battle for the divine water had already started. Many organizations who were seated in their own private enclosures had expressed their interest in the water, all speaking their price. Very quickly, the price rose up from the initial 500,000 crystal coins to over 3 million. "Patriarch, it'll all be up to you whether we win the divine water of the world this time." Jian Chen looked toward the patriarch with a stern expression. The patriarch forced a smile and said, "Esteemed warriors, my Dare tribe will do all it can to help you." Right now, the patriarch of the Dare tribe had no other choice. If he wanted to save the Dare tribe, he could only get on Jian Chen's good side with all he had. Jian Chen nodded before speaking his price, 5 million grand quality crystal coins. Jian Chen increased the price by over 1 million crystal coins in one go, causing the auction to fall silent instantly. Immediately, many people looked in his direction. 5,200,000 grand quality crystal coins. However, another price rang out very quickly that exceeded Jian Chen's 5 million. 5,400,000 grand quality crystal coins. 5,500,000 grand quality crystal coins. 5,600,000 grand quality crystal coins. The price continued to rise. There were still many people from large tribes who refused to give up on this fight. 8 million grand quality crystal coins. Jian Chen spoke his price from his private enclosure expressionlessly. The value of the holy water had greatly exceeded what he had anticipated. He already found it a little difficult to endure as he was now very close to the 10 million amount supplied by the Dare tribe. He could only raise the price madly, to express how determined he was in obtaining the water and to get others to back off. This time, the price was increased from 5 million and something to 8 million. It had jumped by a total of over 2 million crystal coins. This immediately frightening some people, clans, and tribes into giving up the battle for the divine water. The 3 experts of the Menghuang tribe sat on soft sofas in an enclosure opposite Jian Chen's. A protector elder said with a soft voice, "The previous patriarch is already approaching the peak of the 14th star. He's about to reach the 15th, so we need to obtain it." "You're right. Once the previous patriarch breaks through, the status of our tribe will increase once again. We need to buy it and bring it back for the previous patriarch," added the other protector elder. After some slight thought in silence, the current patriarch said, "The voice that increased it to 8 million seems rather familiar. It seems like it's one of the 2 mysterious experts that the Dare tribe has recruited, so that's even more reason why we can't let them obtain it." With that, he called out a price immediately, 8,500,000 grand quality crystal coins. 2 middle-aged men in long blue robes sat in another enclosure with darkened complexions. They were also authoritative members of a large tribe, clearly with illustrious statuses. "As the patriarch of my tribe, it's a pity my son's talent is ordinary. He probably won't even be able to reach the 11th star before the end of his life. How will he succeed me as patriarch in the future? The divine water just happens to be the solution to my son's problems. As long as I have the water, my son will immediately morph into a genius at cultivation. He'll experience no problems reaching the 13th star and will even have the chance to reach the 15th. I need to obtain the divine water of the world." 8,800,000 grand quality crystal coins, murmured one of the middle-aged men. He had named an even greater price. 4 extremely ordinary-looking old men sat in another enclosure. One of them frowned with their eyebrows pinched, while a cold light flickered in his eyes from time to time. "Let it go, Elder Ho Tu, let's give up on the divine water of the world. Our target is the fragment of the Octaterra map. We need to save enough money for it. We can't waste too much on other things," said one of the old men as he looked at his unhappy companion. The downcast elder nodded and sighed softly. "All right, we can only give up on the divine water. It's a pity for it to actually appear at the same time as the Octaterra map fragment. Otherwise, I would buy it no matter what. It's a wondrous treasure of the world rarely seen even in 1,000 years. 9 million grand quality crystal coins." A malicious-looking young man in tight, blue robes named his price from another enclosure. He had already reached the peak of the 14th star, equivalent to a 9th heavenly layer saint ruler on the Tian Yuan continent. The final barrier blocked him well and truly, making it extremely difficult for him to break through. He did not have much time left either, so he could only break through with the help of the divine water. "I only have 100 or so years left. Even if I have to take out everything I've saved up in the past 3,000 years or even all my wealth, I have to win this divine water of the world. It's my only chance at breaking through," growled the young-looking man. A sliver of great killing intent appeared in his eyes. 9,500,000 grand quality crystal coins. Jian Chen broadcasted his price once again. Right now, he too had become downcast. He was only 500,000 coins away from his absolute limit. 10 million grand quality crystal coins. The current patriarch of the Menghuang tribe increased the price. He had come especially for the divine water of the world this time. His tribe had not even considered fighting for the Octaterra map fragment. It was something they had no interest in participating in at all. Chapter 867, Xie Wang. Jian Chen's complexion immediately became extremely ugly. He clenched his fist tightly and powerful killing intent had vaguely appeared in his eyes. If it were other treasures that would be won by others, he still had the time to steal it, but the divine water of the world was different. Jian Chen was really worried that the buyer would consume it immediately after they won it from the auction, cutting off all possibilities of other people stealing it. 10,500,000 grand quality crystal coins, said the malicious-looking young man. His complexion was very ugly too. The price was approaching his limit. 11 million grand quality crystal coins, said a middle-aged man with gritted teeth from one of the enclosures. Jian Chen turned to the patriarch of the Dare tribe. Patriarch, may I ask how much more crystal coins your tribe is able to take out? Treat it as me borrowing the extra amount. I will definitely repay you with several times the amount. After some thought in silence, the patriarch said bitterly, if my Dare tribe empties its pockets completely, it should be able to pull out another 5 million grand quality crystal coins. Warrior, since you need it, my Dare tribe will give you the 5 million. We just need you to help us eliminate the Menghuang tribe to prevent any consequences. The patriarch's heart bled as he said that. The 15 million crystal coins were all the tribe's savings from the past 1,000 years. It had basically wrenched the tribe dry. Fortunately, they possessed a spirit vein so they could produce quite a lot of crystal coins every year. As long as the tribe was able to stay safe, it would be able to return to how it was without much time. Jian Chen did not act polite and said, I will remember the patriarch's kindness. I will definitely return the 5 million coins several folds. 11,200,000 grand quality crystal coins, the voice from the Menghuang tribe rang out once again. In their enclosure, the foreheads of the three experts were covered with cold sweat. According to their estimations, they would only need 1 million grand quality crystal coins, yet the price had now far exceeded that. It was approaching their limit. Although their tribe possessed both a medium and a small-sized spirit vein, the crystal coins were inexpendable despite being able to produce so much every year. Moreover, their tribe was very populous and would consume a large number of crystal coins for cultivation every day. It would amount to 80% of the coins produced by the veins every year, while the remaining 20% would be stored away. They did not have much at all. 12 million grand quality crystal coins. I, Xie Wang, will be taking this divine water of the world. If there's anyone who's able to pay an even greater price, then do it. I won't be continuing the battle, the malicious-looking young man said loudly. A powerful killing intent slightly radiated from his body. The 12 million coins were all his wealth. They were only collected with difficulty from raiding many small tribes and killing countless experts of the sea race. He was unable to take out any more than that now. What? That person's actually Xie Wang. It's actually the terrifying Xie Wang who kills without even batting an eyelid. This Xie Wang is just too despicable. He actually robbed me on the way, forcefully taking 100,000 grand quality crystal coins. A hubbub of discussion immediately arose in the quiet auction center. All of them were discussing Xie Wang, while their voices were filled with anger and great hatred. Clearly, this Xie Wang had offended many people outside, but he was extremely powerful, so very few people dared to seek revenge on him. In a private enclosure, the middle-aged man immediately reacted after hearing the name. He muttered, I never thought it would actually be Xie Wang. Xie Wang's a sea soul warrior at the peak of the 14th star. He's only an inch away from the 15th and he should be approaching the end of his life. If I win the divine water, Xie Wang will definitely hold back nothing and steal it. Bah, I'm not going for the water anymore. In the Menghuang tribe's enclosure, the two protector elders and the current patriarch also had extremely ugly expressions. Sigh, let's give up. Xie Wang's really powerful. He's reached the peak several hundred years ago and is far beyond the old patriarch. Even if you add the three of us and the previous patriarch, we'll probably only be able to reach a stalemate with him. If we keep going for the water, we'll definitely offend him. At that time, Xie Wang might just kill his way into our tribe and create a great disaster, sighed one of the protector elders. Let's not fight for it anymore. Although the previous patriarch will probably be able to reach the 15th star in less than 100 years with the divine water, we'll probably be ambushed by Xie Wang halfway on the road before we make it back if it does end up in our hands. The current patriarch also spoke out his thoughts. He immediately gave up on the idea of obtaining the divine water. Xie Wang was a loner. He was free of ties and was approaching the end of his life. He no longer had anything to lose, so he could do anything. Let alone the other, smaller tribes. He would even dare to intrude peak-level tribes that had 15th-star Sea Soul warriors protecting them. Xie Wang. The face of the patriarch of the Dare tribe became extremely unsightly. Exceedingly great fear appeared in his eyes. The name Xie Wang was like a thunderclap to him. This man was a harbinger of disaster 100 times more terrifying than the Menghuang tribe. I never thought he would also require the divine water so desperately. Warriors, let's not fight for it anymore. We can't offend Xie Wang because of this, said the patriarch to Jianchen and newbies. He was pleading them. Jianchen glanced at the patriarch before slowly closing his eyes. He sat back on the soft, comfortable sofa once again and said with an ordinary tone, "Why not fight? I need it desperately too. Let alone someone who's 14th star, even if it's 15th star Sea Soul warrior, I would go for it too." But that Xie Wang, the patriarch's face was filled with worry. He was extremely fearful of Xie Wang. What are you scared for? Is this puny Xie Wang really that powerful? Why don't I, the great newbies, feel it? If this little shit really does want trouble, I'll make sure that he returns dead, scoffed newbies. The corner of his lips curled up with a sliver of disdain. Silver-striped golden snakes power up greatly after absorbing the hidden essence of their clansmen, but more importantly, they would evolve. They would evolve to a more powerful and greater existence. Although newbies did not evolve after absorbing the hidden essence from the Class 8 magical beast, his gains were not little. His strength increased greatly such that even if he encountered beasts of antiquity that were at the same level as him, he would still be filled with confidence of victory. 12 million going once, the auctioneer's voice rang through the entire center. Xie Wang is infamous. Very few people want to offend him. Looks like the divine water is destined to end up in his hands. I just hope he doesn't succeed in his breakthrough. Otherwise, there'll be no chance for our revenge. A hubbub of discussion rose up in the auction center once again. Everyone believed that no one dared to name another price. 12 million twice, 12 million. I will pay 12,100,000 grand quality crystal coins. At this very moment, an extremely casual voice rang out from one of the private enclosures. The voice immediately silenced the huge auction center. At that moment, all of the people present looked toward the room where the voice came from as if they wanted to see just who dared to go against the renowned Xie Wang. In another enclosure, Xie Wang smashed the crystal table before him with a fist. His face was filled with rage as he said icily, "All right, all right, all right. I want to see just who wants to be enemies with me, Xie Wang." The three experts from the Menghuang tribe were also stunned by Jian Chen's voice. They all looked toward his enclosure in astonishment. Never did they think that the two experts recruited by the Dare tribe would go against Xie Wang. All right, all right. Looks like heaven's will really is greater than a person's wishes. I never thought they'd actually offend Xie Wang. That'll do it. We don't even need to move anymore. The Dare tribe's probably already going to face a calamity. One of the protector elders from the Menghuang tribe laughed aloud. The two experts recruited by the Dare tribe may both be 14th star Sea Soul warriors, but there's still a huge disparity among 14th star Sea Soul warriors. Xie Wang's reached the peak of the 14th star long ago and he's only an inch away from reaching the 15th star. The Dare tribe's two experts definitely aren't enough to be his opponent, said the current patriarch of the Menghuang tribe as his face beamed with a happy smile. Jian Chen and newbies had offended the infamous Xie Wang. This was naturally something the Menghuang tribe was extremely willing to see. Not only did the sudden voice shock many people, it even stunned the auctioneer. Perhaps it was due to the fact that he never thought that there would actually be someone who would offend the great Xie Wang for some divine water of the world. The divine water of the world was valuable, but it was not limited after all. Some would appear in the divine realm almost every 1,000 years. Obtaining it would just be another story. It would not be that easy, unless someone possessed great strength or had a fortuitous encounter. 12,100,000 once. Is there anyone else who is willing to pay a greater price? Broadcasted the auctioneer. 12,100,000 twice, 12,100,000 three times. Sold. I hereby announce that the divine water of the world rarely encountered in 1,000 years has been won by the guests in enclosure number 58. Jian Shen could not help but smile slightly. He had collected another material for forging the azulate swords, which made him very happy. He felt that this journey was well worth the while. If he had not come to Jia City, he probably would not have been able to see the divine water. The auction continued and many other valuable treasures appeared. Another day passed just like this, before the main item for auction this time was finally reached, the fragment of the Octaterra map. Many first-rate tribes and clans had come for this map fragment, so the auction for it was naturally even more intense. In less than 20 minutes, the price of the map fragment rose from the starting price of 5 million crystal coins to over 50 million, yet there were still plenty of clans still battling for it. The price continued to scale upward. Jian Shen did not participate in the battle for the map fragment and instead sat and watched. At this very moment, Jian Shen's eyes froze. He immediately became rather stern. He could feel that many powerful people had arrived outside the auction center. There were plenty of Saint Kings. Jian Shen, looks like obtaining the Octaterra map fragment won't be easy. I can feel the presence of Saint Kings, and there's quite a few of them, Nubi said to Jian Shen through a mental message. His voice was heavy. That's Xie Wang's name translated roughly to the Crab King, while the one we have right now translates roughly to a malicious king. Chapter 868, The Incoming Storm, There's No Hurry. The Octaterra map fragment is directly connected to the legacy of a Saint Emperor. It will definitely cause many large organizations to become green with greed. All these Saint Kings are within my expectations. Right now, what we need to do is wait and watch, before finding an opportunity to take it while the others fight. Since the mysterious woman told us to fight over the map fragment, we need to try our best, Jian Shen replied with a mental message. He remained unperturbed. Jian Shen, we don't even know who that woman is. Are we supposed to just trust her like this? What if she's scheming something by telling us to obtain the map fragment? Nubis was rather worried. Jian Shen thought in silence for a while before he replied with another message. I may not know who that woman is, but she's extremely powerful. That is an undoubtable fact. She also knows everything about my situation on the Tianyuan continent, including my matters with the 10 protector clans and my enmity with the beast god continent. If she wants to harm us, all she needs to do is make our identities public, but she has not done that. Moreover, from the conversation I had with her before, I learned that she isn't helping us for nothing this time. Fair enough. That woman did say that she would help you now and you would need to help her in the future. She probably won't harm us. Nubis nodded in agreement as he found it rather reasonable too. The two of them communicated with private messages, so their voices did not leak out at all. As a result, the patriarch of the Dare tribe beside them had no idea that they were conversing. 85 million grand quality crystal coins, 86 million grand quality crystal coins. The prices called out in the hall did not stop. The intense battle for the map fragment continued. There were over 10 large organizations participating in this fight for the map fragment. This lasted for roughly 15 minutes. The price of the map fragment had already reached 100 million crystal coins. The price was so great that even some large organizations were unable to continue and they all backed out one by one. However, there were still many wealthy groups unwilling to let go of the map fragment, so the price continued to increase over time. The battle for the map fragment only concluded after 4 whole hours. It was purchased by a peak-level clan from the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall for a great price of 380 million. With the sale of the map fragment, the Jas auction also officially reached its conclusion. Afterward, Jian Shen and Nubis went to the backstage of the auction to deal with the procedures for the divine water of the world. The divine water of the world was a name used by people of the sea race. Its true name was Holy Water of the Spirit Sea. Jian Shen accepted the bottle of holy water excitedly, carefully placing it into his space ring before leaving with Nubis and the patriarch. As soon as he left the area where the items were distributed, a malicious-looking young man in tight, blue robes blocked Jian Shen's path. His eyes were cold, the depths of his eyes concealing a stern killing intent. Xie Wang. The patriarch's expression immediately changed when he saw the young man and he cried out uncontrollably. Jian Shen and Nubi studied the young man who seemed to be about the same age as Jian Shen with interest. Jian Shen said with a slight smile, "You must be Xie Wang? Cut the bullshit. Give me the divine water of the world and I'll leave your lives intact." Xie Wang stared at Jian Shen coldly while his voice was extremely icy. It contained no emotions whatsoever. Xie Wang was the same as Nubi's, both ninth heavenly layer saint rulers. With Nubi's prideful nature, how could he endure someone who was only as powerful as him act so arrogantly? He immediately became enraged and took a step forward. A powerful presence began to radiate from his body and tightly pressured Xie Wang. He replied coldly, "What dogs hit Xie Wang? You still don't have the right to be arrogant before me. Piss off or it won't be my fault for being impolite." Nubi's had an extremely great control over his presence. The vast presence of a ninth heavenly layer saint ruler only locked onto Xie Wang. It did not pervade into the surroundings and affect the other people at the auction. Under the suppression of Nubi's pressure, a gleam of light flashed over Xie Wang's eyes. He glared at Nubi's and finally revealed a sliver of seriousness. Although they had not physically fought it out, he could feel Nubi's strength. Nubi's was definitely an expert, not any weaker than himself. "Who are you?" Xie Wang growled. At that very moment, he seemed to ignore Jian Shen and the patriarch of the Dare tribe completely. He only had his eyes on Nubi's. "I am the great Nubi's. Didn't you hear me speak before?" Nubi's growled back. Vicious light shone in his eyes. The wildness and bloodlust from his bloodline as a magical beast had been involuntarily agitated. "Guests, do not fight within the auction center. If there is any enmity, go resolve it outside the city." An old voice rang out suddenly at this very moment. An extremely ordinary-looking old man strode over from afar. With a slight wave of his hand, an invisible energy immediately surged over and only suppressed Nubi's presence. A sliver of interest flashed across Jian Shen's eyes. This old man had suppressed Nubi's presence so simply. He was definitely a supreme saint king and one that was at least of the fifth heavenly layer. He was no weaker than Bai Fei and Ling Yuanzi. The sea race really is a place that has great people hiding. I never thought that there would be such an expert hidden in this puny auction. The sea race really is powerful. Not only do they have more saint emperors than the Tian Yuan continent, they have many more saint emperors and saint rulers too, thought Jian Shen. His understandings of the sea race's strength was renewed once again. Nubi's also sensed the old man's strength. A deep fear that rarely appeared covered his face and he immediately retracted his presence. He did not do anything overboard. Even though Xie Wang feared nothing, his complexion finally changed too when he saw the old man. His gaze toward the old man was mixed with both shock and fear. He clasped his hands toward the old man courteously and said, "I greet old Senior Jad." The old man looked at the three of them normally and a warm smile appeared on his face. "No matter who it is, since you've come to my Jas auction, you are a guest of my auction center. Guests, I don't care about the matters between the two of you nor do I want to care, but please do not break the rules of Jas City. If you want to resolve your problems, please go fight outside the city. Do not break the rules of the city." "Yes, old Senior Jad. Junior will never break the rules of Jas City on purpose." Xie Wang immediately became like an obedient child. He feared and admired the old man. The old man said to Xie Wang, "You destroyed a table of my auction center. Go pay the fees." "Yes." Xie Wang did not dare to resist at all. He stared at both Nubi's and Jian Shen then growled, "I will be looking for you two in the future." With that, Xie Wang immediately left to go pay the compensation fees for the auction center. The old man paid no attention to Jian Shen's group. He directly walked away from three of them, disappearing around a corner very quickly. Jas City, Jas Auction, old Senior Jad. Is there some connection between the three of them? Was that old man perhaps the expert who protects the Jas Auction? Jian Shen thought as he watched the old man disappear into the distance. In a sealed secret room in the auction center, old Senior Jad was currently in discussion with a few other old men. Jad, the journey where we deliver the Octaterra map fragment will definitely be extremely dangerous. Many experts will come and fight for it. We hope you're able to assist us, said an old man. Old Senior Jad thought in silence for a while before nodding sternly. 3,000 years ago, a great elder of your Hao family saved my life. I've never been able to return that favor, and the great elder has already passed away from old age. I won't be able to see him ever again in this life, so I will be helping you since your Hao family needs help. It'll be returning the great elder's favor of saving my life. Fantastic. With old Senior Jad assisting us, our chance of returning with the map fragment successfully has increased by quite a bit. The old men from the Hao family were overjoyed and became excited. Chapter 869, Meeting Kaya again. Jian Chen and newbies left the Jas auction and directly traveled toward the exit of the city. Along the way, Jian Chen discovered many experts hidden in the surroundings of the streets. Some of them had come to participate in the auction this time, while others had come with different objectives and were waiting patiently. At this very moment, a tremendous presence appeared far away. There were over 10 people of various ages flying out of the auction center, directly traveling out of the city. That's the renowned Hao family from the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Even among the entire Sea realm, the Hao family's strength is highly ranked. They're people from the Hao family. I heard it was the Hao family who bought the Octaterra map fragment for a huge price. So many experts from the Hao family have come. They must be leaving with the map fragment. Isn't that the city lord, Jad? Why is he with the people of the Hao family? Not only is Jad the city lord, he's also the boss behind the scenes of the Jas auction and the previous patriarch of the #1 clan in the city, the Jas clan. Since he is with the Hao family, is he perhaps assisting the Hao family in leaving with the map fragment? Jad's strength is already at the 16th star. I don't think there'll be many people who will want to try to get their hands on the map fragment with him accompanying them. That might not be the case. I've heard that many experts from all 3 territories have gathered here. There are plenty of other 16th star Sea Soul warriors among them. A series of discussions rang out from the streets. A few experts conversed with one another as they all watched the group fly over them. Jad was a renowned expert in this region. His appearance had caused many to dismiss their ill intentions. The group from the Hao family flew extremely quickly with Jad. They zoomed through the sky like a comet and disappeared into the distance in the blink of an eye. They left the city very quickly. As the sea realm was enveloped by a powerful barrier, it was like a separate world. Saint Kings would not be able to rip open space here, so the group from the Hao family could only deliver the map fragment back to the clan by flying. Not too long after they left, figures flickered within the city. Many experts who hid in the surroundings all began to tail the group. Almost all of them were saint rulers, and there were even some saint kings. Jian Chen watched the figures travel off into the distance as he stood where he was. His eyes constantly flickered with a light. Warriors, we've already obtained what you needed now. Do you think? The patriarch of the Dare tribe said on one side with hesitance. He seemed slightly worried. He had pooled the entire tribe's wealth onto Jian Chen. He really was worried that the two of them would go back on their words. After glancing at him unconsciously, the corner of Jian Chen's lips curled into a sliver of slight disdain. Patriarch, let's leave the city first. Jian Chen, about the map fragment, newbies sent a mental message. No hurry. Let them fight a little first. Don't worry, all their actions are within my scope of expectations, Jian Chen replied with a mental message. His voice was filled with great confidence. He had already expanded his presence to the limits long ago, enveloping a radius of 5,000 kilometers. He could sense the actions of the people extremely clearly. I don't need to worry since you've said that then, newbies replied. The 3 of them left Jas City together and directly flew into the distance. Just when they traveled 100 kilometers from the city, a vast presence suddenly appeared. Behind the 3 of them, the blue-robed Xie Wang chased up to them with a frosty expression. He had fused with the surrounding space, hurrying over through the use of spatial force. He was as fast as lightning. It's Xie Wang. He's actually caught up. The patriarch's expression changed slightly. He glanced over to Jian Chen and Nubis. He saw that they remained unperturbed, so he could not help but relax slightly. Jian Chen and Nubis stopped in their tracks, then floated mid-air and remaining composed as they waited for Xie Wang to fly over. A few seconds later, Xie Wang stopped 50 meters away from the three of them. He glared at Nubis, while the flames of anger and killing intent burned in his eyes. Nubis stared at Xie Wang with his arms crossed and a face of arrogance. He sneered, "What, you want to fight with me, the great Nubis? Give the divine water of the world to me and I'll leave immediately." "I won't be letting this matter drop otherwise," Xie Wang said expressionlessly. The divine water was his only hope. He was even willing to die for it because he did not have much time left. Nubis' face was cold. "Before me, the great Nubis, you still don't have the right to speak like that. Unless you're a 15th star sea soul warrior, why don't you let me knock out all your teeth before you want to keep dwelling on this?" With that, Nubis appeared before Xie Wang with a flash. He directly hurled a whistling fist towards Xie Wang, and the surrounding space trembled violently as his punch passed by. The space in the sea realm was much tougher than elsewhere. Nubis' punch could rip through space easily outside, but it could only cause the space to tremor here. Although Xie Wang was self-confident, he knew that Nubis was in no way weaker than himself. As a result, he did not dare to fall behind and immediately struck out with a fist that collided violently mid-air with Nubis' punch. Bang! A great force erupted with a muffled sound, wreaking havoc in all directions. The energy ripples from the collision of their fists reached the ground and great big cracks were immediately formed. After the strike, Nubis remained floating mid-air with his balance. He was immovable like a mountain. On the other hand, Xie Wang was forced back 10 meters uncontrollably before he regained stability. The outcome of who was stronger or weaker had already been determined. As a beast of antiquity, Nubis' capability for battle was already extremely powerful. Combined with his absorption of the hidden essence from a Class 8 magical beast, it only made him even greater. Currently, his strength was not any weaker than a Saint King. Even if he encountered a first heavenly layer Saint King, it was not necessarily impossible for him to come out victorious. He was matchless among 9th heavenly layer Saint rulers. Xie Wang shook his right arm, which had become slightly numb from the collision. He growled, "You may be very powerful, but you're still at the peak of the 14th star, the same as me. If we don't fight to the very end, it's still very hard to determine who'll live or die. I'll show you my true strength." An even greater presence emanated from Xie Wang as he rushed at Nubis boldly, embroiling in a great battle with him. In the direction of Jia City, another 3 people flew over, before stopping several kilometers away to watch on from afar. The 3 of them were the current patriarch of the Menghuang tribe and the 2 protector elders. They did not interfere with Jian Chen and Nubis' dispute with Xie Wang. When they saw how Nubis was locked in battle with Xie Wang, their expressions became extremely ugly. Never did they think that Nubis would be so powerful that he could battle evenly with the infamous Xie Wang and even slightly gain the upper hand. Jian Chen glanced at the 3 Menghuang tribe experts in the distance but did not pay them too much attention. The 3 of them were all saint rulers of the 3rd and 4th heavenly layer and were not people he needed to acknowledge. However, the patriarch of the Dare tribe was unable to remain as composed as Jian Chen. He stared at the 3 experts from the Menghuang tribe cautiously and said, "Esteemed warrior, be careful of a sudden ambush from the 3 of them. Don't worry, there is me to handle everything. They won't be able to cause any trouble." Jian Chen was confident. The 3 experts stared fixedly at the battle between the 2 while the lights in their eyes flickered. One of the protector elders sent a mental message, "Patriarch, Xie Wang's already become enemies with the experts recruited by the Dare tribe. If we take advantage of it right now and assist Xie Wang, we might be able to pull him to our side temporarily and get him to deal with the Dare tribe with us." "That's reasonable. Patriarch, why don't we help Xie Wang right now? Xie Wang wants the divine water while we want the spirit vein in the Dare tribe's possession. I'm sure that Xie Wang will be extremely willing to work with us," added the other protector elder. The patriarch of the Menghuang tribe hesitated slightly before shaking his head gently. Let's wait first. Right now, we're not sure of the other person's strength. We may not necessarily be his opponent even if we work together, and the patriarch of the Dare tribe is another 13th star expert. I don't see any benefits if we clash with them right now so hastily. Suddenly, another dozen or so people flew over from the direction of Jas City. They were in a horrible shape, their faces were pale while residue blood remained at the corner of their lips. They were heavily wounded. Behind them, two old men fought as one retreated. They were both saint rulers and powerful energy ripples would erupt whenever they clashed. Elder, leave quickly. Don't mind us. A blue-robed, slightly attractive woman yelled from the group. She pleaded with a miserable voice. When Jianshan heard the woman's voice, his eyes froze immediately. He suddenly turned to the woman who had spoken and a sliver of shock appeared in his eyes. Kaya. I'll block him. Leave quickly. The old man with short, blue hair yelled out as he fought while retreating. He was much weaker than his opponent, with just a while of battle, he was already heavily injured. Ha ha ha, don't think any of you people from the Kaler tribe will escape today. 100 years ago, that old bastard from the Kaler tribe almost made me die. Let me take my revenge from all those years ago on the blood and flesh of that old bastard. The black-robed old man laughed aloud from behind. His face was cruel as he struck the chest of the elder from the Kaler tribe with a palm full of great energy. Spurt. The elder vomited a mouthful of blood and immediately became sheet white. His face was drained of blood and he was no longer able to maintain his flight, directly falling downward. Ha ha ha, I'll finish off that old one and then come and kill you little ones. The black-robed old man shot toward the falling elder with killing intent and mercilessly struck toward the elder's head with a palm that radiated with energy ripples. Swish. Suddenly, an ear-piercing whistling of air was emitted. A terrifying, meter-long sword chi that emanated with the presence of destruction directly shot toward the black-robed old man with lightning speed. Chapter 870. Repaying a debt of gratitude. When he sensed the strength of the sword chi flying over, the black-robed old man was immediately shocked. He instinctively knew very well that he would be heavily injured if he was struck by it. The old man no longer bothered to kill the elder from the Kaler tribe. His palm for the elder was forcefully withdrawn and struck toward the sword chi in a full-powered punch. The old men sent out a meter-wide fist completely condensed from energy, striking the sword chi with violent ripples of power. Boom! As the two collided, a great rumble erupted immediately. Violent energy ripples wreaked havoc in the surroundings and sent Kaya and the guards flying. However, the sword chi completely exceeded the old man's imagination. It had not been dispersed and instead shot through the violent energies directly. However, it was now much weaker due to the strike before. The old man was also a 14th star sea soul warrior, equivalent to a saint ruler of the 6th heavenly layer. When he saw how the sword chi continued toward him with no decrease in speed, he immediately became extremely stern. Afterward, he grunted and vast amounts of energy surged out, striking the sword chi with all his power once again. With a deafening boom, the old man finally dispersed the sword chi 30 meters away from him. The powerful aftersurges struck his body, causing him to tremble greatly. The old man was shocked. He glared in the direction that the sword chi came from. He wanted to see exactly who possessed such great strength. Even if the person was not at the peak of the 14th star, he was not far from it. All he saw was a young man with long black hair in white robes. He carried a sword that shone with dark light as he floated midair. The old man's eyes narrowed abruptly. He even experienced a false impression, as if the young man before him was not a person at all but rather a sword that radiated with soaring sword chi like a sacred sword that stood upright in the world. Warrior, who are you? What do you want with me? Why did you ambush me suddenly? The old man growled. His expression was very ugly, while he unconsciously glanced at the intense battle between Xie Wang and Nubis. With just a single glance, he realized that the two of them were much more powerful than him, probably actual experts who were at the peak of the 14th star. Jianshan glanced at the old man coldly before flying toward Kaya. Miss Kaya, are you fine? Kaya looked at Jianshan with her sheet-white face. When she recognized him, shock immediately dyed her beautiful eyes. Warrior, it's actually you. Jianshan's face carried a smile. Miss Kaya, looks like you've encountered some problems, but fortunately you came across me. Otherwise, you probably would have been in danger. At this moment, the 12 guards that followed Kaya recognized Jianshan as well. They immediately became shocked when they connected Jianshan with the fact that he had repelled the powerful old man all by himself. Never did they think that the beggar-like person who did not even have money for the entree fee of the city was actually such a terrifying expert. It caused the 12 guards to become extremely astounded. I thank the warrior for his assistance. Kaya will definitely return the favor of saving my life, Kaya said with gratitude. Her voice was slightly weak as she was quite heavily injured. The injuries were not from the black-robed old man but from the energy ripples when the two saint rulers clashed before. Miss Kaya is too modest. Half a month ago, I became indebted to Miss Kaya's kindness. Just treat it as returning the favor, Jianshan said with a slight smile. Seeing how Jianshan was actually with the people from the Kaler tribe and that their relationship seemed to be something else, the old man in the distance immediately became heavy-hearted. He knew that if the Kaler tribe had such an expert helping out, he definitely would not be able to take revenge for the years before. On the other hand, the injured elder from the Kaler tribe was overjoyed. He forcefully endured his injuries and struggled up to his feet, calling out loudly, "Warrior, please help us, the Kaler tribe, to kill this person. We, the Kaler tribe, will be eternally grateful." With that, the black-robed old man could no longer be bothered with his revenge. Thoughts of retreat had already appeared in his mind, but he continued to ask, "May I inquire what Sir's relationship with the Kaler tribe is?" Jianshan ignored him and said to Kaya, "Miss Kaya, since he's an enemy of yours, allow me to thank you for your kindness by offering up his head." With that, Jianshan raised the dragon-slaying sword and charged at the old man. His eyes contained a powerful, unconcealed killing intent. The old man's expression changed greatly. Just as he was about to retreat, another 3 vast presences appeared suddenly. The 3 experts from the Menghuang tribe moved together and moved directly toward Jianshan. "Warrior, it'll be difficult for you to escape today. Why not work with the 3 of us to exterminate this person?" called out the current patriarch of the Menghuang tribe. A gleam of light flashed across the old man's eyes. His intent to escape disappeared immediately and a vicious smile appeared on his face once again. "Sure. Since you don't intend on letting me go, I can only work with these 3 fellows to deal with you. You dare to ruin my matters, I, Hey Batian, will let you fall here today. Be careful, warrior." When she saw the 3 other people rush up to be Jianshan's opponents, Kaya's expression immediately changed. She called out uncontrollably and she also began to worry for Jianshan. Although they had not known each other for very long, Jianshan was still a person who stood on her side. Whether her group and the elder could leave here alive would all depend on him. A sliver of disdain appeared on Jianshan's face and he mocked, "Let's see exactly who falls here today. People of the Menghuang tribe, I originally wanted you to live a few more days, but since you seek death, it won't be my fault." Such impudence. The 3 experts from the Menghuang tribe became enraged and they all pulled out their weapons. They became involved in a great fight with Jianshan. Even a grain of rice dares to try and outshine the moon. The dragon-slaying sword in Jianshan's hand turned into a blur and was thrust out with lightning speed. In the blink of an eye, Jianshan had struck out thrice, knocking away the weapons from the 3 Menghuang tribe experts. The great force from the collision of their weapons caused the 3 experts to experience a series of numbness in their hands. The 3 of them were greatly shocked. They knew that Jianshan would definitely be extremely powerful, but according to what their beliefs, they even possessed the power to fight with a 14th-star Sea Soul warrior if they worked together. They had never thought that Jianshan would be so powerful that in just a single clash, all 3 of them would lose the upper hand. The powerful energy from the dragon-slaying sword affected them in particular, making them experience an inability to resist from the very depths of their hearts. Swish, swish, swish. At this very moment, the sword flashed another 3 times abruptly. The dragon-slaying sword continued to pierce at the 3 people, directly punching through their chests. They did not have any time to react at all. The second layer of the chaotic body was equivalent to the 7th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. Combined with a ruler armament, Jian Chen's strength in battle was equivalent to the 9th heavenly layer. The 3 people were all below the 5th heavenly layer, so they had no power to resist Jian Chen with such a great disparity. The 3 people from the Menghuang tribe all produced muffled grunts, quickly retreating backward. They were astounded, no longer willing to continue their fight with Jian Chen. They fled toward the distance at the same time and disappeared far away quickly. Originally, I wanted to kill the 3 of you directly, but I changed my mind for now. Leave. I'll let you live for a few days longer. Jian Chen did not obstruct their departure. He had allowed the people from the Menghuang tribe to understand his strength, so he believed that they would not attack the Dare tribe very soon. It just happened to earn him some precious time to steal the Octotera map fragment. When he saw how Jian Chen demolished the 3 experts from the Menghuang tribe as soon as they clashed, the black-robed old man immediately became scared witless. He hurriedly came to a screeching halt mid-air, no longer possessing the courage to battle. He immediately turned around and flew off into the distance to escape. You should stay behind. I've let them go but not you, Jian Chen said ordinarily. His voice was heard clearly by the black-robed old man, which caused him to shiver inside. He fled at an even greater speed. Jian Chen did not give the old man the chance to use spatial force in order to escape. Using the illusionary flash, he appeared before the old man like a ghost. With a shake of his arm, the dragon-slaying sword in his hand turned into a flurry of blurs that enveloped the old man. The blurs stacked on top of one another, blotting out the sky and locking the old man in place. Arg! A chilling cry emerged from the flurry of blurs. As the blur receded, the old man had undergone an absolute change of appearance in just a few seconds. He was covered in blood, while countless wounds were strewn all over his body. He was extremely miserable. Warrior, spare me, warrior. I will never provoke people of the Kaler tribe again. Please spare my old life. The old man had truly comprehended Jian Chen's terror. He did not believe he could escape today, so he immediately began to beg. Jian Chen's eyes were cold, unaffected by the old man's actions. All the killings from the years had gradually forged him a merciless heart toward enemies, because only like that could one survive in this world. Kindness toward enemies would be equivalent to taking one's own life. The killing intent in Jian Chen's eyes flashed. As the dragon-slaying sword swung down, it directly beheaded the old man. The old man did not die. Under the control of his origin soul, the entire head began to flee into the distance, wanting to escape. However, he was still not faster than Jian Chen in the end. With just a flash, Jian Chen traversed hundreds of meters in an instant and directly blocked the path of the severed head. A gentle palm landed on the head, jolting the origin soul hidden inside into pieces. He directly wiped out the old man's soul. Chapter 871, Battle for the Map Fragment. 1. Jian Chen removed the ring on the black-robed old man's finger, before bringing his head to Kaya. He said with a slight smile, Miss Kaya, I've already beheaded this guy for you. Just treat it as returning your kindness of the 100 crystal coins. Kaya and the 12 guards stared at Jian Chen in stupefaction, while great waves of emotions churned within their hearts. They felt extremely uncalm. A powerful, 14th star sea soul warrior had just been slaughtered like that by Jian Chen and was even beheaded. They found this unbelievable and did not even return to their senses after a long time. They really refused to accept what had happened before them. Is that expert really that person who didn't even have money for the fees to enter the city? At this moment, similar thoughts simultaneously appeared in Kaya and the 12 guards' minds. None of them dared to connect Jian Chen, who had easily killed a 14th star sea soul warrior, to that person from before. Staring at the beheaded corpse, the elder from the Kaler tribe was also extremely shocked. The black-robed old man was a 14th star Sea Soul warrior. Although he did not reach the peak, he was still extremely strong. Meanwhile, Jian Shen had actually killed the old man so easily. This strength caused the elder to be extremely astounded. Peak of the 14th star, that person who just struck out has definitely reached the peak of the 14th star. He might even be a 15th star expert, the elder thought. His heart was soon replaced with ecstasy. If the Kaler tribe could pull such a powerful expert to their side, it would be a humongous matter. The elder wiped away the blood from the corner of his lips and dragged his heavily injured body to Jian Shen. He said gratefully, "I thank this warrior for helping us out. My Kaler tribe will never forget the great kindness you have shown. May I ask if you are able to come to my tribe as a guest so that my Kaler tribe can thank the warrior properly? It's only a small matter, not worth mentioning. Also, Miss Kaya has helped us once before, so it's expected of me to help her this time. Elder, I still have matters to attend to, so I won't be able to visit your tribe." Jian Shen declined after some meandering. He was extremely polite. The elder was awkward. He clearly wanted to invite Jian Shen to their tribe very much as a guest. However, as Jian Shen was so powerful, he did not dare to pester him until he was angry. At that time, he would be in for a loss. "Silly girl, what are you staring blankly for? Why don't you quickly invite this warrior to our tribe as a guest?" The elder immediately sent a mental message to Kaya after a thought popped into his head. Kaya remained hesitant. Her relationship with Jian Shen was extremely ordinary. Additionally, she could clearly feel with her innate spirit opening technique that Jian Shen only treated her as an extremely ordinary passerby, with no other intentions at all. The reason why he had helped her this time was completely due to the fact that he wanted to return the favor of the 100 crystal coins. "Farewell, Miss Kaya." Jian Shen clasped his hands at Kaya before turning around and leaving. Seeing how Kaya did not follow through with his suggestion, the elder immediately became frantic on the side. He urged once again, "Silly girl, don't just stand around. Why don't you quickly stop the warrior?" The elder's voice was filled with urgency. There was such a great opportunity right in front of him right now to rope in an expert. He did not want to just miss out on it. Kaya shook her head gently and did nothing else. She knew that even if she spoke out to urge him to stay, it would do nothing at all. The elder of the Kaler tribe sighed resentfully as she had failed to do what he had insisted. His face was filled with regret and anger. As Nubis and Xie Wang fought, they moved away. They were now already several dozen kilometers away. Gazing at the two still embroiled in an intense fight, Jian Shen said, "Nubis, don't waste too much time here." "Ha ha ha, understood. Kiddo Xie Wang, your great-grandfather Nubis, won't be playing along anymore." Nubis laughed from afar. He immediately used his full strength, heavily striking Xie Wang's body a few times, which caused him to fly backward as he vomited blood. "Kiddo Xie Wang, come find me after you break through to the 15th star. You're not my opponent otherwise." Nubis' extremely arrogant voice shook up the surroundings, broadcasted far and wide. He no longer paid any attention to the heavily injured Xie Wang, turning around and flying toward Jian Shen. "I haven't wasted too much time, have I?" Nubis smiled slightly in front of Jian Shen. He did not feel pressured at all in his fight with Xie Wang. He had not used his full strength at all. As a silver-striped golden snake, Nubis' battle capability was not his most powerful aspect, but his venom was renowned throughout the Tianyuan continent. "They've already left my range. We can't delay this any longer," said Jian Shen, before they arrived before the patriarch of the Dare tribe together. They said, "Patriarch, let's go." "Ah. What? Oh, yes. Stunned, the patriarch suddenly returned to his senses, unconsciously nodding his head. His face was already filled with extreme levels of shock and disbelief. He had truly and properly understood Nubis and Jian Shen's abilities from this fight. Nubis had fought the infamous Xie Wang all by himself and heavily injured him so easily while remaining uninjured himself. Meanwhile, Jian Shen battled 4 saint rulers on his own and wiped out the soul of a 14th star sea soul warrior in just a few bouts, while the other 3 13th-star Sea Soul warriors fled with heavy injuries. The Dare tribe patriarch's blood boiled when he saw all this. How just was the mere Menghuang tribe worthy of any fear with such experts supporting his tribe? The 3 of them left the area, while Kaiya's group remained where they were, staring into the direction that Jian Shen had disappeared off to. Just who are the 2 of them? And who's the other one? Even the infamous Xie Wang was no match for him. Is he perhaps a 15th-star Sea Soul warrior? Mumbled the elder of the Kaler tribe. The regret in his heart increased even more. If he could rope in those 2 experts, the strength of his tribe would increase vastly. Jian Shen's group stopped after traveling several hundred kilometers. Afterward, he turned to the Patriarch and said, "Patriarch, the 2 of us have something important to attend to, so we must leave temporarily. When we deal with it, we will come back to assist you with the Menghuang tribe. Is that fine?" The Patriarch pondered in silence in response before replying, "The 3 experts from the Menghuang tribe have already sustained heavy injuries, so they probably won't have the power to fight my tribe for the time being. All right, warriors, then you should go deal with your matter. I will wait for your return." The Patriarch seemed like a brute, but he was not stupid at all. Instead, he had a nimble mind. He could tell with a single glance that the 2 of them wanted to try their luck with the Octaterra map fragment. Bidding farewell to the Patriarch, Jian Shen and Nubis did not show any hesitation at all, immediately shooting off into the distance as a blur with lightning speed. They disappeared in the blink of an eye. At this very moment, several thousand kilometers away, the Hao family directly traveled toward the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall with the Octaterra map fragment and the accompaniment of Jad, a 16th-star Sea Soul warrior. As Saint Kings could not rip open space in the territory of the sea race, they could only travel by flight. At this very moment, a weird call appeared in the surroundings. "Kakakakak, you better leave this last map fragment behind. Yin Feng, will be taking it." With this voice, a burly, middle-aged man appeared out of nowhere, right in front of the group's path and blocking them. Simultaneously, the surrounding space froze, becoming something akin to a frozen block of ice in that very instant. It trapped many experts from the Hao family, immobilizing them. Demon Lord Yin Feng. The expressions of many experts of the Hao family changed. Their gazes toward Yin Feng were filled with deep fear and dread. The city lord of Jia City, Jad, stood forward from the group, staring at Yin Feng with a sneer. "Yin Feng, you normally only move about in the territory of the Sea God Hall. Why do you come to our territory? Moreover, there's a powerful formation enveloping the exterior of the Octaterra Divine Hall. Once you reach the 15th, you can't enter it. You are a person who walks a solitary path, so what use is for the map fragment? It's not like you can go in any way." As Jad spoke, his body jolted slightly and the frozen space where Yin Feng had appeared shattered immediately, returning to how it was before. Yin Feng laughed aloud. "You're right. I am indeed unable to enter the Octaterra Divine Hall, but someone has put forward a condition that I can't reject. It'll be difficult for me to not interfere even when that's what I want. I never thought that the proud, lonesome demon lord would help others do things. But with just your strength at the peak of the 15th star, you probably aren't my opponent," Jad said. "Senior Jad, there's not just me involved in this matter. I believe that there are still many others who covet the map fragment on you other than me," laughed Yin Feng loudly. Afterward, he looked around and said, "Everyone, stop hiding. Come out." As soon as Yin Feng finished his words, over 100 figures suddenly appeared out of nowhere from the empty surroundings. Every single one of them had reached Saint Ruler, and there were even Saint Kings. The people from the Hao family had known clearly about being followed since long ago. They did not find it surprising when the people appeared, while Jad, who stood at the very front, looked around. Everyone, the Octaterra map fragment was won by the Hao family in the auction by paying a heavy price. If you want to steal it, it won't be my fault for being merciless. Jad, you're the Jia City Lord of the Serpent God Hall. Why are you helping the people from the Hao family of the Heaven Spirit Hall? Asked an old Saint King. It's not up to you to care about why I'm doing this. In short, I will be using all my strength to assist the Hao family in protecting the map fragment. If there is someone who dares to come and take it, don't blame me for being vicious, Jad said with a gruff voice. His eyes turned into a glare, while a powerful killing intent radiated from him. It caused the surrounding temperature to plummet abruptly as if the surroundings had turned into an ice cavern in permafrost. Chapter 872, Battle for the Map Fragment, 2. Although Jad was the most powerful person present, there were many Saint Kings similar to him in the surroundings, so he was unable to deter the people who wanted to take the map fragment at all. Jad, did you really think that just you and the people from the Hao family would be enough to stop the attacks from all of us, said the demon lord Yunfeng. Everyone, you all probably belong to different organizations. There's only one fragment, so who would the fragment end up with between so many of you? How will you split it? Asked an old man from the Hao family. He bore a smile and spoke with a normal tone. He was one of the ancestors of the Hao family. He was also a Saint King, but at the 15th star. His simple question caused many of the people present to frown. This clearly was a question that was extremely difficult to deal with. None of them wished to work so hard and risk their lives to only have the fragment end up with someone else. Seeing how everyone began to falter, a Saint King immediately called out, "He's trying to get us to turn on each other. It's self-evident. Everyone, do not fall for his tricks. We can discuss how to split it after we obtain the map fragment. Maybe we can directly turn the map fragment into multiple pieces and give everyone a piece. All right. That's not a bad idea. Let's do that." Immediately, many people agreed to this solution, voicing their agreements. Yunfeng licked his lips and chuckled. Since it's all been dealt with, we have no need to waste any more time. Everyone, let's strike together and obtain the map fragment. The demon lord was the most powerful after Jad here. When he finished speaking, he charged at Jad first and called out, "Fellows of the 15th star, come with me to deal with Jad, that old croon. We'll leave the people of the Hao family to others." Immediately, several Saint Kings shot out from the group, embroiling in a great fight with Jad as they worked together with Yunfeng. As soon as they clashed, violent energy ripples erupted and surged through the entire region. It caused mountains to collapse, the ground to crack and the entire world to tremble violently. The Hao family also had a Saint King. Leading over 20 experts from the clan, he began to fight with 100-odd people, but he was kept busy by the last Saint King who entered the battle from the assailants. It caused the people from the Hao family to become surrounded while forced up against the attacks of over 100 experts of a similar level. Under such a difference in strength, they fell into a disadvantageous position as soon as they clashed, surrounded and attacked by people that outnumbered them several times. However, the people who had come for the map fragment belonged to different organizations. They did not trust each other, so they had to guard against anyone besides them as they attacked the Hao family group in order to prevent anyone from suddenly ambushing them. It resulted in a great reduction of their strength and they were unable to fully display their might. So although the Hao family was tightly suppressed, no one dared to use an attack too powerful that would make them vulnerable. On the other side, the battle between Jad and the Saint Kings had already reached a white-hot intensity. Jad did not fear much, using all his strength without holding back at all. He engaged intensely with the 5 other opponents. The battle was earth-shaking, fighting up in the sky before sinking back to the ground again, all while moving backward. They had already moved 100 kilometers away. Wherever the battle passed by, violent energy ripples would wreak havoc. The surrounding region had basically become a zone of death, where even saint rulers would not dare to venture too deeply into. Although the 5 Saint Kings fighting Jad were only in the 3rd or 4th heavenly layer, they all had their motives, so none of them were willing to use their full strength. They did not want to expend too much energy or suffer any injuries, which would cause them to miss the perfect opportunity to take the map fragment. As a result, even with the 5 of them working together, they could only reach a stalemate against Jad, who was at the 6th heavenly layer, and they were even vaguely on the losing side. Arg! Arg! With a few cries of pain, a few weaker saint rulers of the Hao family vomited blood and fell with heavy injuries. They retreated into the center of the group, which immediately increased the pressure on the other experts of the family. Their resistance became more and more difficult. If it were not for the insecurity of the attackers, the group from the Hao family would have been forced to give in long ago. Currently, Jian Shen and Nubis concealed their presences 1,000 kilometers away. They hid behind the back of a mountain. They were unable to see the battle due to being too far away, but they could clearly sense the violent energy ripples. This place is too far away. You can't see anything at all. I wonder what the situation is like. Jian Shen, let's approach them a little more, suggested Nubis. Jian Shen raised his hand in objection. No need. We can't get too close. We need to be careful. I've always been monitoring the situation up ahead, and I've even vaguely sensed that there are other experts who have still yet to reveal themselves. We can't get too close. I sense so many presences of Saint Kings, and one of them isn't any weaker than the Bai Fei and Ling Yuanzi who pursued us. Jian Shen, do you think we'll be able to take the map fragment with our strength? Nubis seemed rather worried. So many presences of Saint Kings had appeared up ahead, which made him feel completely unconfident. We need to steal the fragment through strategy and not force. We can only see now whether we get that opportunity or not. Though, we do have one advantage that others don't have, said Jian Shen. What advantage? Nubis asked curiously. Jian Shen smiled mysteriously. You'll learn about it later. Oh right, spit out your water spirit's pearl. Our identities as foreigners will be revealed in a while when we go steal the map. As soon as we obtain it, we can use the pearls to mask our presences after finding a safe hiding spot. That way, it'll obscure what the other people will be searching for. They'll pour all their efforts into a search for foreigners while they ignore other members of the sea race. That's one extra safeguard for us. Nubis' eyes lit up with interest. Without any hesitation, he immediately spat out his pearl that concealed his magical beast presence, before placing it into his space ring. Jian Shen also spat out his pearl and placed it into the saint artifact. To him, space rings were not exactly safe, as there was the chance for them to be stolen at any moment. Only inside the saint artifact would there be no room for accidents, unless the saint artifact rebelled or he died. Let's just wait here. I'll tell you when it's time to move, said Jian Shen. The great battle only lasted for roughly half an hour. More people from the Hao family became heavily injured, and their numbers were whittled down to around a dozen. 3 people had even died, fleeing the scene in the form of origin souls. The few remaining people resisted bitterly, but they were also all covered in blood. They could not last for much longer. Seeing how the situation was turning against them, the Saint King of the Hao family became extremely stern. He had anticipated that he would encounter ambushes along the way long ago, but had originally thought that nothing would go wrong with Senior Jad's help. Never did he think that so many people would come, with a total of 6 Saint Kings. We can't drag this out any longer, the Saint King thought. With a flash of determination, he knocked his opponent away with a blow. A grand aura immediately began to radiate from his body, and he bellowed, 3 palms of heaven's annihilation. A huge palm suddenly condensed 100 meters up in the sky, radiating with a devastating aura. Its appearance seemed to cause a great disturbance in the surrounding laws of the world and caused it to fall into disorder. All the Saint Ruler and even Saint Kings lost control of their abilities to manipulate spatial force. The palm corporealized world force and contained an extremely great power. The space within a radius of several dozen kilometers froze with its appearance, and even the Saint King who was knocked away was affected greatly. He seemed to have fallen into quicksand, and all his movements dulled. A Tian-level Saint technique. His expression changed greatly, and the blood drained from his face immediately. A Tian-level Saint technique was equivalent to a Saint-tier battle skill on the Tian-Yuan continent, possessing devastating power. Even he, a 3rd heavenly layer Saint King, had not been able to grasp such a powerful technique yet. Even though mere Saint Rulers could begin to comprehend Tian-level Saint techniques, to grasp one definitely not that simple. Many Saint Kings could not even use a single one. On the other hand, only those with outstanding talent in the comprehension of the mysteries of space could create Tian-level Saint techniques. They would need to comprehend through their luck, which was extremely rare even over the span of tens of thousands of years. Only a mere few were able to create their own Saint-tier battle skills from Mercenary City over the countless years it had existed. The giant palm print sealed up the surrounding space before descending with a vast aura. It silently fused with the earth and disappeared completely. All of the people, including the hundreds of saint rulers and the saint king, disappeared with the palm. They had vanished. Only a few saint rulers from the Hao family hung in the sky, staring at the area beneath their feet tongue-tied. Below them, a bottomless pit had appeared. It was shaped like a palm and encased a radius of several kilometers. A saint king and over 100 saint rulers had been pressed into the earth by it. Arg! A cry of rage echoed from the bottomless pit. The saint king had not died after receiving the attack. Following him, the presence of over 100 saint rulers appeared as well. The Tian-level saint technique had been received by a saint king and over 100 saint rulers at the same time. It did not manage to kill a single person with their resistance. The 3 palms of heaven's annihilation had 3 strikes in total. The further the strikes progressed, the more powerful they became. The saint king of the Hao family raised his palm mercilessly and another giant palm instantly condensed in the sky. It slammed down onto the ground like a bolt of lightning and caused the entire region to shake violently. The third palm strike followed closely after the second. Wherever it passed by, space would be ripped open to reveal the void, creating a blanket of darkness. Chapter 873, Battle for the Map Fragment, 3. The remaining 2 palm strikes from the Hao family Saint King fell almost at the same time, at the same place. After them, any auras from the bottomless pit had disappeared completely. No one knew if any of the 100 saint rulers or that Saint King were still alive anymore. A saint ruler of the 7th heavenly layer could heavily wound or directly kill a Saint King of the 1st or 2nd heavenly layer when they used a Saint tier battle skill. The caster this time was a Saint King, not a saint ruler, so the power of the technique was naturally much greater. Even if they were not dead, they definitely would have sustained unimaginable injuries. Jad and the 5 Saint Kings that had traveled over 100 kilometers as they fought noticed this situation. Each and every one of them was shocked, revealing expressions of astoundment. All of them, even the strongest, Jad, had not grasped a Tian-level saint technique. The Saint King of the Hao family was far below them, yet he already knew a powerful Tian-level saint technique. It brought disbelief to them. Tian-level saint techniques were not easy to comprehend. They had all attempted the comprehension at their respective factions, but they had all failed with no exception. The profoundness and complexity of Tian-level saint techniques made it hard for even Saint Kings to comprehend. Ha ha ha, I'd like to see if you still have the power to take the map fragment. Jad laughed aloud. The Saint King's grasp of the Tian-level saint technique greatly strengthened his side, which made him beam with joy. Their ability to protect the Octaterra map fragment had just greatly increased. The Saint King of the Hao family sneered as he looked at the bottomless pit created from his 3 palm strikes. A heavy price will definitely be paid when you try to take the things of my Hao family. He then turned towards Jad and said, Senior Jad, allow me to lend a hand of support. No need. I'll keep them busy, you leave quickly with the map fragment, Jad replied loudly. The Saint King of the Hao family hesitated slightly, before he clasped his hands at Jad. I shall be taking my leave first then, Senior Jad. I shall be repaying Senior's kindness some other day. With that, he no longer deliberated and flew off into the distance with the remaining experts of the Hao family. Something suddenly happened. A blood-red light flashed past, silently sweeping past the Saint King. The light had appeared with no warning. It caught the Saint King off guard and directly sliced off one of his fingers. The pain caused the Saint King to groan in pain. However, as soon as he saw the lost finger, his expression changed abruptly. The finger was the one he wore his space ring on. The Saint King of the Hao family burst into rage. Like an angered lion, he immediately roared out furiously and followed the falling finger. He wanted to retrieve the space ring. The blood-red light appeared once again, quickly snatching up the space ring before he could get it back. It then flew off. Where do you think you're going? Stay. The Saint King's eyes became bloodshot and he chased after the red light in a mad manner. The map fragment has been taken by someone, cried out Demon Lord Yunfeng, who was battling Jad. He could no longer care and directly abandoned the battle and chased after the red light. The other Saint Kings also stopped their fight, casting their fastest movement techniques to chase after it. The red light only stopped after quickly traversing 100 kilometers. A hunchbacked old woman appeared there soon after and caught the finger with one hand. She immediately removed the space ring from it, before tossing the finger far away. Smiling evilly, she croaked, "The map fragment is mine. Don't even think about laying your hands on it." Before she had even finished her sentence, she moved slightly, shooting off into the distance as a blur. "Stay!" Jad roared and directly hurled a punch toward her. A huge fist rushed at the old woman with surging ripples of energy. The old woman was also of the 16th star, but she was only a 5th heavenly layer Saint King. She was a fraction weaker than Jad. She quickly turned around, pushing out violently with her shriveled hands, which collided with the fist of energy. With a violent rumble, wild ripples of energy dissipated through the surroundings. Not only did Jad's punch fail to slow her down, she used the knockback to speed up her escape. A white, soft hand appeared out of nowhere at this very moment, right in front of the old woman. It landed quickly but gently on the old woman's chest. She had just blocked Jad's strike, so she took the palm strike forcefully after being caught off guard. Spurt. A mouthful of blood surged from the old woman's mouth and she immediately paled. The strike was extremely powerful, already wounding her heavily after she had failed to block it. "The map fragment is now mine." A crisp and spirited voice echoed in the old woman's ears. A devastatingly charming and graceful woman in an azure dress appeared before her. The space ring that was originally in the old woman's hands had already fallen into hers. She was also a Saint King, with strength equal to the old woman. She too was a Saint King of the 5th heavenly layer, but her aura was different from the sea races. "You're a human expert," the old woman groaned as she eyed the lady. "I am Qi Nishuan. I thank you for gifting me this map fragment." The lady gave out a crisp giggle. Her smile was extremely pretty, like the blooming of 100 flowers. Afterward, she turned into an azure flash of light and disappeared. She had already left and fled into the distance. The old woman coughed up another mouthful of blood and stared viciously at the lady's fleeing figure. However, she did not give chase. Never did I think that even Qi Nishuan of the 8 great human experts would join in as well and even ambush and heavily injure me. What a bitch. The old woman said with an extremely resentful voice. There were very few people who did not know the name Qi Nishuan in the sea realm. Magical beasts and humans were also present in the sea realm outside of the native sea race. However, there were extremely few of them. All of them had entered the realm as saint rulers with no exception, before cultivating their way to Saint King here. This was why foreign Saint Kings were able to exist in the sea realm. There were 8 most well-known Saint Kings among these humans, all of which who had reached the 16th star as sea soul warriors and at least the 5th heavenly layer. Qi Nishuan happened to be one of them. Behind, Jad and the other 5 Saint Kings all shot past the old woman as blurs, tailing Qi Nishuan. "Everyone, please calm down," boomed an old voice from the surroundings. 2 white-robed, ruddy old men suddenly appeared, blocking their paths. The 2 of them were also part of the 8 human experts. "Death to those who block my way," Jad roared. He became embroiled in a battle with one of the humans while the other person faced up against the other 5 Saint Kings all by himself. Even though they were on the losing side, they only aimed to delay the 6 Saint Kings, not to fight them in a battle to the death. Only after fleeing several kilometers did Qi Nishuan finally stop with the space ring. She turned back and gave out a long sigh. She muttered to herself, "Fortunately I invited 2 helpers or it'll be impossible to shake them off. I may have paid quite the price, but everything will be worth it as long as I've obtained the map fragment." Qi Nishuan's eyes suddenly froze as she spoke. She turned to her side suddenly, only to see 2 young men who seemed to be in their 20s fly over. One of them wore tight, blue robes and had a handsome appearance, radiating with a refined aura. The other wore golden robes and had a head full of golden hair. His expression bore an unconcealed pride. It was Jian Shen and Nubis. A human and a magical beast, muttered Xie Wang. She could tell what the two of them were with a single glance. Jian Shen and Nubis directly traveled for Xie Wang, before coming to a stop 100 meters away from her. Jian Shen gazed at her calmly and spoke with his hands clasped. Junior is Yang Yutian. Senior must have taken part in the fight for the Octaterra map fragment. Xie Wang's face immediately twitched when she heard them mention the map fragment. Her beautiful eyes turned cold and glared at the two of them. Are you trying to take the map fragment away from me? Brat, I'll ignore your disrespectful attitude from before since we're of the same race. If you're smart, leave immediately. Otherwise, don't be able to blame me for what I do next. Jian Shen smiled as normal. Senior is mistaken. Junior has purposefully come forward to ask Senior if the space ring really does contain the map fragment or not. Xie Wang seemed to realize something with that. Her eyes flashed with urgency and she quickly checked the space ring. Her expression immediately changed greatly, angrily tossing the space ring into the distance. She cried out, "It's actually empty. Senior has already obtained the space ring for some time. It may be empty, but the people behind definitely won't believe Senior. They'll definitely think Senior has hidden the map fragment. Not only has Senior failed to obtain it, Senior has to bear the burden of being hunted down by all those sea race experts. Senior's current circumstances really seems miserable," smiled Jian Shen. Chapter 874, Battle for the Map Fragment. 4. Xie Wang paled in anger, furiously stamping her feet. She said, "Those bastards of the Hao family. They actually tricked us all. Brat, tell me how you knew that the space ring was empty." A vast aura radiated from Xie Wang's body and tightly pressed down on Jian Shen and Nubis. "Senior, the map fragment is still with the Saint King of the Hao family. He's currently heading north with it. If Senior doesn't chase after him now, Senior might not be able to catch up," said Jian Shen. "Why do you know this so well? And why should I believe what you've said?" Xie Wang cried out. She stared fixedly at Jian Shen. "Junior has said everything to be said. Whether Senior believes it or not is not my problem," Jian Shen replied calmly. The light in Xie Wang's eyes flickered uneasily. After some deliberation, she chose to believe Jian Shen's words in the end. She shot off north as a vague blur. The Octaterra map fragment was just too important. Xie Wang was willing to delude herself than believing that the Saint King of the Hao family did not have it. "Brat, I'll trust you this once. If I find that you're tricking me, I won't let you off even if we're of the same race. I'll chase you to the ends of the world." Xie Wang's words hung in the air. She had disappeared long ago. Odd. Jian Shen, how did you know that the space ring did not contain the map fragment? And how did you know where that Saint King was? Do you have eyes several kilometers away? Nubis could not resist his curiosity after Xie Wang had left. Jian Shen smiled mysteriously. Right now is not the time to be discussing these things. That Xie Wang is just too strong. I hope the Saint King of the Hao family won't just fall to a single strike of hers. Though, he does possess a saint-tier battle skill. If Xie Wang wants to take things from him, it shouldn't be easy. Let's go, Nubis. The time for us to obtain the map fragment may be coming soon. Jian Shen and Nubis erased their presences, carefully advancing forward. The Lord of Jia City and the 5 other Saint Kings were all kept busy by the 2 old men, battling where they were before. However, the Saint King who had lost his finger was not present and had already disappeared. The ripples from the battle radiated to over thousands of kilometers away and drew in all the experts in that range. There were already a few Saint rulers spectating from several dozen kilometers away in the air. The Saint King who had lost a finger had already separated from the Saint rulers of the Hao family by several thousand kilometers north. He currently traveled at full speed by himself, heading for the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. The secret of my space ring will be discovered very quickly. I need to head to the Heaven's Spirit Hall as soon as possible. I'll be able to call on the elders of the hall to assist me in fending off people once I get there. I'll be out of harm's way even if 116th star Sea Soul warriors appear, he muttered. He had not placed the map fragment in his space ring and had instead carried it on him. At this moment, a grand aura quickly appeared from far away and headed directly for him. The Saint King's expression changed greatly as he cried out, "Oh no, it's a 16th star expert." Did they discover that the space ring was empty so quickly? The Saint King became filled with worry. He no longer held back anymore as a strand of faint red mist enshrouded his body. It immediately allowed his speed to skyrocket. He had cast a secret technique that cost him some of his vitality to flee. "You old bastard, you can't escape anymore." A crisp voice echoed in the Saint King's ears. Xie Wang had also cast a secret technique, shooting over like a lightning bolt with speed that completely exceeded the Saint King's. He said nothing, fleeing as if his life depended on it with gritted teeth. However, no matter how he increased his speed, he was unable to widen his distance from Xie Wang. The two of them gradually grew closer and closer and the distance shrunk to just 100 kilometers from the initial several hundred, which then decreased to several dozen. Fuck it. The Saint King of the Hao family immediately stopped running, seeing how it was useless. He hung in mid-air with a pale face and a grand aura immediately radiated from his body. He was like an ancient beast that was slowly awakening from its slumber. Tian level Saint technique, 3 palms of heaven's annihilation. He cried out. He cast the Saint tier battle skill once again, causing the surrounding world force to churn. It condensed into a huge, solid palm despite world force being invisible and pressed down onto the surroundings with stupendous pressure. It locked up the region in the radius of several dozen kilometers and abruptly froze the space there. As Xie Wang reached a distance of 5 kilometers away from him, the space around her suddenly froze and immobilized her. The powerful aura of the Tian level Saint technique locked onto her. She reacted violently, even with her strength of the 5th heavenly layer. Vast quantities of Saint force surged from her body, immediately shattering the frozen space. However, the quicksand-like space around her still slowed her movements greatly. A metallic azure sword appeared in her hand. With a cry, she turned into an azure stream of light that shot for the Saint King. She attempted to disrupt his battle skill. The Saint King of the Hao family did not need much time to charge up with his strength, so he reached completion very quickly. He flipped over his hand and slammed it down forcefully. Immediately, the enormous palm in the sky rumbled. It came crashing down with a devastating pressure. Xie Wang's dress and hair danced in the wind. She gave up her attack on the Saint King and pointed her sword at the sky. She turned into a blur and shot up, planning to use her own strength to forcefully resist the battle skill. The battle skill had locked onto her completely anyway, so she did not have the option of fleeing. All she could do was take it head-on. Boom! Xie Wang's elegant body collided with the palm that was several kilometers wide. Their sizes did not match up at all, but it produced a deafening boom. Violent ripples of energy wreaked havoc in the surroundings, ripping open space and destroying whole regions, turning it all into a blanket of darkness. The giant palm fell from the sky without any decrease in force with an unstoppable manner. It left a bottomless palm print in the ground, which caused it to tremble. Xie Wang had been pushed into the earth with it. However, she flew out from it very quickly. Powerful, slightly azure Saint force permeated her surroundings and caused the space around her to tremble because of the energy. Forcefully taking a Saint tier battle skill head-on, she was unable to remain uninjured despite her strength. Her hair was in a horrible mess, while her face was slightly pale. Her clothes were quite ruffled up as well, clearly in quite a bad shape. Rumble. A great boom resounded in the sky and a second palm fell. Its power was even greater than the first. Xie Wang poured all her strength into resistance, but she was still no match. She was pressed into the ground once again, this time emerging with a trail of blood at the corner of her lips. Blood had drained from her face, she was clearly quite injured now. The third palm strike followed soon after. This was the most powerful one, enough to collapse the space it passed by. Spurt. Forcefully enduring the last strike, Qin Yishuan vomited a mouthful of blood. She became pale, while she seemed completely disheveled. She was in a horrible shape, now heavily injured. Even the Saint King of the Hao family found it rather hard to endure after casting 2 Tian-level Saint techniques consecutively in a short time. He paled slightly and seemed extremely weak. After he struck down with the 3 palms, the Saint King immediately began to flee. He paid no regards to the outcome. A soaring sword chi shot toward him from behind. Qin Yishuan had risen from the ground, pouring all her energy into killing the Saint King of the Hao family. She may have been heavily injured, but she was still a 5th heavenly layer Saint King after all. She had an extremely tenacious life and still possessed a strong ability for battle. "Leave behind the Octaterra map fragment and I'll spare your life," she cried out, before quickly being embroiled in a battle with the Saint King of the Hao family. However, neither of them had detected that 2 insignificant saint rulers who were already 500 kilometers from them as they fought. The 2 saint rulers had completely erased their presence while hiding away carefully. They were Jian Chen and Nubis. A golden light shot out from the center of Jian Chen's eyebrows, before it turned into a miniature golden tower in his hand. Jian Chen turned to Nubis and said, "We need to hide in the saint artifact. Don't resist." A pillar of white light flashed out and disappeared with Jian Chen and Nubis. They had been sucked away by the power of the saint artifact. Taking the 2 of them away, the saint artifact then sunk into the ground, tunneling toward the battle. Qin Yishuan and the Saint King of the Hao family fought even-handedly in the sky. In Qin Yishuan's peak condition, she would have been able to deal with him easily, but she was currently heavily injured. She still possessed a very strong battle capability, but it was far from when she was in her best state. The 2 of them fought for 20 minutes. The Saint King ended up being stabbed in the chest by Qin Yishuan and immediately vomited up a mouthful of blood. The mighty sword Qi turned his clothes to shreds, while a black, square piece of leather around 30 centimeters in length and width drifted into the air. It was undamaged. The Saint King reacted violently when he saw this piece of leather. He ignored his injuries and grabbed at the leather with all he had. However, Qin Yishuan was faster than him. Her thin fingers turned into a blur, snatching the piece of leather from the air. Her face became wild with joy as she cried out, "The Octaterra map fragment. I've finally obtained it." Qin Yishuan no longer stuck around after she grabbed it. She immediately turned around in an attempt to leave. The Saint King roared out angrily, slamming his palm onto Qin Yishuan's back with all his strength. A mouthful of blood spurted from her mouth and worsened her injuries even further. However, she took advantage of this strike, using the knockback to flee and increase in speed. She no longer wanted to be tied up with this Saint King. "Qin Yishuan, my Hao family will definitely not let you go," roared the Saint King. He was furious. Qin Yishuan fled pale-faced. She wanted to find a safe area as soon as possible to recuperate. The situation of her body was not very great at all. Due to the intense battle before, she had not suppressed her injuries, so they were constantly worsening. It had reached an extremely horrible level. She would struggle to deal with even an ordinary Saint Emperor right now. "I may be heavily injured, but it's all worth it as long as I can obtain the Octaterra map fragment." Qin Yishuan glanced at the black piece of leather in her hand and could not help but reveal a smile on her pale face. Afterward, she casually placed the map fragment into her bosom. She did not place it into her space ring. A golden light shot out from the ground at this very moment, directly toward her. Chapter 875, The Final Owner Shocked. Qin Yishuan immediately raised her vigilance. She swung the sword in her hand and directly stabbed at the ball of golden light. Cling! With a metallic sound, the golden light was blasted away by Qin Yishuan's attack and revealed itself as a golden tower. However, it suddenly began to radiate with a golden light, encasing a radius of several hundred meters. Even Qin Yishuan herself became enveloped within. The saint artifact used its power to convert the surroundings into its own domain. Although it did not possess full control over the area, it was able to suck up or let out anything that did not resist into the region. The gold-clothed newbies left the artifact space and appeared behind Qin Yishuan silently. He spat out a mouthful of venomous gas. The venom of the silver-striped golden snakes was ranked third in the world. As a ninth heavenly layer saint ruler, his venom could even take out saint kings. Qin Yishuan failed to notice it and took in a breath and immediately began to feel dizzy. Shit, it's poison. Shocked, Qin Yishuan immediately discovered that someone had appeared behind her. Just as she was about to react accordingly, Nubis viciously grabbed her back and impaled her with his fingers. The venom surged into her body like the water of a broken dam. Qin Yishuan cried out while great quantities of saint force churned within her, knocking Nubis away with her overwhelming strength. Her face was like frost and her eyes overflowed with killing intent. She directly stabbed out at Nubis with her sword. Nubis did not fear her and immediately began to fight back. If Qin Yishuan was in her peak condition, he might have been limited to fleeing, but she was now heavily injured and poisoned by him. She could only use half of her strength, not enough to threaten Nubis anymore. They hurriedly clashed a few times, before Nubis was impaled through the chest. He was heavily injured, but Qin Yishuan had also taken a fist from Nubis, which caused her to vomit blood as she was knocked back. Before she could stabilize herself, Jian Shen appeared quietly before her through the use of the artifact. His hand snaked into her bosom like a lightning bolt and he immediately came into contact with her two soft, full breasts. They pressed against his palm, causing her clothes around the chest region to bulge. He felt the map fragment as soon as he stuck his hand in. Without any hesitation, he snatched the fragment tightly with some force, but he grabbed more than that. Jian Shen could tell from the feeling that he had also seized a piece of cloth and a portion of silky smooth skin. Arg! Qin Yishuan could not help but cry out. She became wide-eyed and stared blankly at the hand that had reached into her bosom. She was filled with disbelief. She returned to her senses immediately. Her slightly flushed face was replaced with anger as she cried out, "You pervert!" As they were too close, she was unable to lash out with her sword, so she directly threw a palm strike forward in this urgent situation. A palm strike from an angered fifth heavenly layer Saint King could not be underestimated. Despite her injuries, this strike was beyond what Jian Chen's chaotic body could withstand. Spurt. Jian Chen immediately spat out a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying off far away. His hand was also pulled out from her chest, along with the black map fragment that he had grasped tightly. However, there was something else. Her white undergarment had been grabbed too, which came out with the map fragment. It waved freely in the air with a lingering body warmth, giving off a slight fragrance. Qin Yishuan became bright red when she saw the undergarment in Jian Chen's hand. Her eyes burned with fury, while her killing intent shot into the sky. "You pervert, I'll obliterate you." Qin Yishuan fell into a frenzy of rage. She charged at Jian Chen with her sword as she ignored her injuries. "Let's go. This woman is too powerful. She's still so powerful even with those injuries." Nubis appeared beside Jian Chen in a flash, grabbing him before shooting off into the distance. As that all happened, the saint artifact turned into a streak of golden light and disappeared into Jian Chen's forehead. "Where do you think you're going? Today is the day of your death." Qin Yishuan screamed from behind. Her hatred for Jian Chen had already reached a bone-deep level. "You've been poisoned by me. If you don't suppress its spread, you'll die before you've even caught up to us. You should know very well just how powerful the venom of a silver-striped golden snake is," Nubis called back out in an attempt to stop her pursuit. "I've burned the two of you into my memory. I'll kill you even if I have to chase the two of you to the ends of the earth," roared Qin Yishuan. She did not continue her pursuit and instead glanced at the two of them coldly. Afterward, she turned around and flew off in the opposite direction. Nubis was right, her body was indeed in a horrible condition, heavily injured and then poisoned. If she did not deal with it as soon as possible, she would die even if she was a saint king. Nubis traversed tens of thousands of kilometers with Jian Chen as fast as he could before finally coming to a stop. Afterward, they both entered the saint artifact. Inside there, they healed very quickly and returned to their peak conditions under the treatment of the artifact spirit's origin energy. Only then did they finally relax. Stealing from a fifth heavenly layer Saint King was an extremely risky thing to do for them. If they had lost focus for even a split second, their lives could have been in danger. We've finally obtained the map fragment. Jian Chen smiled excitedly. He turned his hand to look at the map fragment as he did not have the opportunity earlier. However, his face suddenly froze and revealed an odd expression. Although he had felt that he had grabbed something else with the map fragment in the situation before, he had never bothered to look at it. Only now did he discover that he had also grabbed Xie Nishuan's white undergarment. Let's see what the Octaterra map fragment is like. Nubis also looked toward Jian Chen's hand, but he soon locked onto the undergarment. He became stupefied while his mouth became agape. He was filled with disbelief. Jian Chen, what's that? Nubis pointed toward the undergarment as he stuttered. Jian Chen raised it up for a closer examination, finally confirming that he had not seen wrong. He could not help but smile bitterly. That's an undergarment. Jian Chen, why, you've actually taken her undergarment, said Nubis as he was dumbstruck. It was a critical situation. How would I have noticed things like this? Jian Chen forced a smile. Whoa, Jian Chen, you're just too powerful. That person is a fifth heavenly layer Saint King. No wonder she said she would chase us to the ends of the earth. Turns out you, Nubis could not help but break into laughter toward the end. Jian Chen could only force a smile as he stared at the undergarment. He carefully placed it into his space ring. He planned to return it to Xie Nishuan when they met again in the future. Alright, let's not dwell on this matter. Let's check out the map fragment first. Nubis immediately became serious when they reached the matter of the map fragment. He immediately rushed up to Jian Chen to examine the fragment. It was a piece of black, square leather. It was extremely tough and even Saint Kings would struggle to destroy it. On it was a blurry image, and with close examination, it was not difficult to see that it was an incomplete map. This fragment is a part of the map to the Octaterra Divine Hall, as well as the key to the Divine Hall. We need to collect all the pieces before being able to form the whole thing, said Nubis. Jian Chen nodded and immediately put it away. He pulled out the water spirit's pearl and gulped it down. We can't dwell here. We better leave quickly. Nubis nodded in agreement before swallowing his pearl too. He left the artifact space alongside Jian Chen. Chapter 876, Emissary of the Serpent God Hall, 1. Swallowing the water's spirit pearls, their presences turned back into the sea races. They then left together. Jian Chen and Nubis erased their presence and carefully headed for the Dare tribe. Several vast presences appeared from behind them at this very moment. It was Jad, Yunfeng and the other, shooting over like bolts of lightning. They headed directly for Jian Chen and Nubis. Both of them immediately became nervous. They did not have the ability to flee from 6 Saint Kings, especially when one of them was of the 6th heavenly layer. Stay calm and keep the act. Jian Chen stopped and sent a mental message to Nubis. If they were to run right now, it would definitely raise suspicion. The 6 Saint Kings arrived before them very quickly. They examined Jian Chen and Nubis, before paying no particular attention to them when they saw how the two were only saint rulers. Seniors, is there anything we can help you with? Jian Chen clasped his hands at them and asked politely. Did you see an azure-dressed lady fly by? Yunfeng asked condescendingly as he stared arrogantly at the two of them. No, Jian Chen replied seriously. Jad seemed to realize something as his eyes glimmered. I remember you too. Weren't you at the Jas auction? Why were you here? The others all looked toward Jian Chen and Nubis while cold lights flickered in their eyes. They revealed expressions of suspicion. Both Jian Chen and Nubis' hearts sank slightly. Never did they think that Jad would remember 2 juniors he had only met once with his status. If Jian Shen did not explain this properly, it would definitely raise doubt. Any small error in this crucial moment could lead to their deaths. Senior, right after we left Jia City, we sensed many experts heading in the same direction, so we went to check out what was going on out of curiosity. This is why we're here. Jian Shen casually forged a reason, hoping to trick them. How would it be possible for them to participate in this with their puny strength? Yun Feng, let's go find Qi Nishuan quickly and not waste any more time here. A third heavenly layer old man said arrogantly. He looked down on the two of them. You're right. Finding Qi Nishuan is the most important matter at hand. Yun Feng nodded before he flew off first. The other four Saint Kings tailed behind Yun Feng closely. Although they were not companions of each other, they possessed the same objective, so they decided to work together to deal with Qi Nishuan. She was just too strong, and she also had two extremely powerful helpers. It would have been very difficult for them if they moved alone. With Yun Feng's departure, Jad did not cause any more trouble for the two of them. He flew off in the other direction. Jian Shen and Nubi's beating hearts finally calmed down as they watched them disappear. They directly headed for the Dare tribe afterward without any hesitation. When they had arrived, the news that Qi Nishuan of the 8 human experts had taken the Octaterra map fragment quickly spread out like wildfire across the entire territory of the Serpent God Hall. It caused quite the commotion. Many greedy sea race experts and some great clans began to band together in search of Qi Nishuan's traces. The Saint King of the Hao family dragged his injured body back to the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. He did not return home immediately and instead traveled to the center of the territory. At the center, a huge divine hall hung in the sky, filling the surroundings with a grand pressure. The Saint King entered the hall with no obstructions and was taken to a grand conference hall under the lead of a guard. A black-robed old man sat high up in the conference hall. He was short, only a meter tall, but his eyes shone with spirit. A vast pressure radiated from his body, encasing the entire hall. He was a hall elder of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, one of the most revered figures of the hall after the hall master. The Saint King of the Hao family immediately became meek before him, unwilling to carry any arrogance. He clasped his hands at the hall elder. Hao Dak pays respects to hall elder. The hall elder stared at the Saint King, calmed, and asked, "What do you need?" "Esteemed hall elder, I had succeeded in purchasing the map fragment, but it was taken by Qi Nishuan along the way. Qi Nishuan is a foreigner, yet she has interfered with the matters of the sea race. She has gone overboard and definitely cannot be forgiven. However, my Hao family does not have the strength to deal with the 8 human experts. I hope the esteemed hall elder can stand up for my Hao family and take back what was ours," the Saint King said unhappily. In the sea realm, the 3 halls possessed a supreme status. They were the rulers of the sea realm and were extremely territorial. They normally would never interfere when organizations fought each other in their own territories, but they would never stand by when a foreigner decided to create troubles in the sea realm. The hall elder pondered for a while with his eyes closed before replying, "Hao Dak, 5 of the 8 human experts have already sworn their allegiance to one of the 3 halls. Qi Nishuan belongs to the Sea Goddess Hall. If we move against Qi Nishuan, we will definitely be met with the Sea Goddess Hall's resistance. There might even be conflict. Do you think that we, the Heaven's Spirit Hall, are willing to risk something like this to deal with Qi Nishuan over such a small matter?" "What? She has already pledged her allegiance to the Sea Goddess Hall? Was she ordered by them to steal the Octaterra map fragment?" the Saint King asked in shock. The hall elder shook his head. "Don't dwell on the matter of the map fragment anymore. Now that all 8 pieces have appeared, of which the Sea Goddess Hall has 4, the Serpent God Hall has 2, while we, the Heaven's Spirit Hall, has 2, I believe the search for the Octaterra Divine Hall will begin soon. Every map fragment can allow 20 people in. When the search begins, the Heaven's Spirit Hall will personally negotiate with the 2 other clans to get them to hand over the right to pick a total 20 people, 10 from each clan. We'll get some extremely powerful peak 14th star Sea Soul warriors to go in to ensure we have the strongest team. This way, we can reap the greatest rewards." The pale-faced Qi Nixuan sat in a secret basement in the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. Her face was rather dark from the poison. The venom of the silver-striped golden snake was just too powerful. Even with her overwhelming strength, she could only forcefully suppress it and was unable to force it out. A striking middle-aged man sat opposite to her. His face was weathered from experience, while he naturally radiated with a noble bearing. "You're quite heavily injured. Looks like there were quite a lot of people that had come for the map fragment, but it's all be worth it. Once you obtain that object, your strength will skyrocket. You would have nothing to fear even if you face up against 9th Heavenly Layer Saint Kings," smiled the man. His expression carried unconcealable joy. Qi Nixuan sat there pale-faced. She said, "I may be disappointing you then. The map fragment is not on me." The man became stunned and immediately sat up straight. He cried out in surprise, "What? You haven't obtained the map fragment?" Qi Nixuan's dazzling eyes immediately filled up with a cold killing intent. She ground her teeth. "I had already stolen the map fragment originally, but I was caught off guard and ambushed by 2 juniors while I was heavily injured. They took it away from me." "Juniors? What were their strengths?" The man's eyes flickered in surprise as he stared fixedly at Qi Nixuan. "They weren't Saint Kings," Qi Nixuan replied icily. A powerful killing intent and anger radiated from her body uncontrollably, causing the temperature of the room to plummet. The scene where the map fragment along with her undergarment was taken flashed through her head. It made her anger and killing intent skyrocket even more. 2 little juniors who weren't even Saint Kings actually managed to take something from you, with your strength. The man struggled to believe it. Qi Nixuan sat up instantly and stared at the man with a pressuring gaze. She grumbled, "That was what happened. Whether you believe it or not is up to you. The poison has spread by quite a lot, so I need to head back to the hall immediately. I'll be leaving." Qi Nixuan turned around and left as she fumed. "Qi Nixuan, according to our agreement, I can't give it to you since you haven't finished the mission," said the middle-aged man. Qi Nixuan fumbled slightly, before leaving the room. She thought, "I'll come back for the map fragment after I'm healed. You brats, I definitely won't let you off. I'll kill you even if I have to chase you to the ends of the earth." Qi Nixuan quickly spat out a sentence before leaving, "The map fragment's not on me. It was taken by a human saint ruler and a Class 7 magical beast." As her words were spread, it created a great commotion. Qi Nixuan, one of the 8 renowned human experts, had actually been robbed by 2 puny saint rulers. This caused a lot of disbelief. Despite the disbelief, the people in search for the map fragment still kept this in mind. Other than Qi Nixuan, they included humans and magical beast saint rulers in their search. They would stop and question almost every human or magical beast saint ruler they came by, leading to countless complaints and protests from both races. However, what could they do? The previous patriarch, the current patriarch and the 2 protector elders of the Menghuang tribe gathered in the highest room of the tower in their tribe, each extremely stern. Chapter 877, Emissary of the Serpent God Hall, 2. After observing the pale expressions of the current patriarch and the 2 protector elders, the former patriarch asked, "Are the 2 experts recruited by the Dare tribe really as powerful as you've described, where one of them fought Xie Wang on an equal level while the other defeated the 3 of you all by himself?" "Patriarch, they're definitely stronger than us. Now that the Dare tribe has such powerful supporters, just what should we do?" A protector elder grumbled. His voice was rather weak as he was injured. The former patriarch frowned, also conflicted in his heart. The developments had already exceeded his expectations. Several vast presences appeared outside at this very moment and directly made way for the tribe. The sudden appearance of powerful auras caused the 4 of them to frown slightly, but it was soon replaced by astonishment. The current patriarch immediately cried out, "It's Sinner, Sinner has returned." Sinner's name was Yensen. He was the great-grandson of the current patriarch and was a prodigy in cultivation. His talent was so outstanding that he cultivated his way to saint ruler in the span of 400 years, becoming an expert in the region. He then became valued by the Serpent God Hall and was chosen as an emissary of the hall, then taken as a disciple of a hall elder. They held an extremely high regard for him and his future was very bright. The entire Menghuang tribe had increased greatly in status, all because of him. There were even people who predicted that he would reach Saint King in the distant future and reach great renown among the sea realm. Yansen had already cultivated at the Serpent God Hall for over 300 years as of the now. His strength was even more terrifying than before. Other than those from the Serpent God Hall, there was barely anyone else who knew exactly what level of cultivation he had reached. The 4 experts of the Menghuang tribe immediately left the tower to go and welcome him personally. The 4 of them cared deeply for Yansen, a talented junior who had an extremely great chance at breaking through to Saint King. 4 figures flew toward the tribe quickly. They were all young men in the same attire, with a serpent's embroidery at the left side of their chest. It was the emblem of the Serpent God Hall. Yansen, is that the tribe you were born in up ahead? Your seniors seem to be coming out to welcome you. Probably only you can enjoy such an honor. Laughed a young man who had a scaled forehead. His tone made him seem like he was currying up to Yansen. You don't say, hey? Yansen's the genius of our Serpent God Hall. He's ranked up there even among all the other emissaries. He'll definitely break through to the 15th star and gloriously become an elder of our hall. He might even become a hall elder, an existence only second to the hall master, said another young man, praising Yansen without hiding anything. There was a faint pattern on his face, but other than that, his appearance did not stand out. Yansen was a young man who seemed to be in his 20s and was striking. He could not help but reveal a sliver of arrogance from the praises of his 2 companions and replied, "The 2 of you speak too highly of me. Between the 14th star and the 15th star is a chasm that is extremely hard to bridge. We can't be certain if I can make it over that gap or not. There's still a difficult journey before I can become an elder. Yansen, we have an important mission this time. We need to return the item to the hall elders as soon as possible, so we can't stick around for too long. None of us can bear the burden if something goes wrong," said the last young man. He was a broad-chested man who seemed to be in his 30s. He spoke with an exceptionally icy tone and had a cool face. Yansen frowned and retorted, "Hey, don't you understand the hall elder's orders? I'm the leader of the squad, not you. All of you need to listen to me. Since when did you become in charge?" The young man immediately shut up and silently followed behind the 3 of them. With Yansen's arrival, he received a warm welcome from the entire tribe but was quickly invited into the tower by the 4 experts. Inside, the old patriarch explained the threat they currently faced to Yansen. "What? Grandfather has been heavily injured? And the protector elders, you've been injured too? This is outrageous. Who dares bully my Menghuang tribe? Don't they know that I am a part of the tribe as well? I don't care who they are, I'm not going to be letting them off easily." Yansen immediately became angered and slammed the table. As an emissary, he only feared organizations that possessed Saint Kings. Any other third-rate or second-rate force was not worthy of his attention. Fantastic. With Senner and the 3 emissaries' assistants, the 2 experts won't be able to pose any threat to us any longer. The current patriarch laughed happily. Yansen's sudden return was a blessing for the Menghuang tribe. "Grandfather, protector elders, wait here. Senner will lead my 3 companions to go teach those 2 experts recruited by the Dare tribe a solid lesson. I'll let them know just how powerful we are," Yansen said with a sense of justice. All right. It's about time that we, the Menghuang tribe, showed off our strength. It'll show the other tribes that we really are strong. Senner, just wait. The 4 of us will come with you as well," said the former patriarch. Afterward, the 4 emissaries and the 4 experts of the Menghuang tribe departed and headed off for the Dare tribe threateningly. Jian Shen and Nubis were currently discussing with the Dare tribe patriarch about how to deal with the Menghuang tribe tens of thousands of kilometers away. They had no clue that the Menghuang tribe had actually already set off and were charging toward them with ill intent. Warriors, the Menghuang tribe probably won't be attacking my Dare tribe for the time being. How about you two stay at my tribe for these days? Would that work? The patriarch treated Jian Chen and newbies extremely courteously as if they were gods being worshipped. Patriarch, the two of us still have some other important matters to attend to. We won't be able to stay for too long. Since the Menghuang tribe isn't coming, why don't the two of us pay a visit to the Menghuang tribe with the patriarch tomorrow in the morning and completely alleviate the patriarch of the burden of dealing with the Menghuang tribe, asked Jian Chen. He had come to the Sea Realm with the intention of getting some extra time to power up. He could not afford to spend so much time dealing with these miscellaneous matters. Now that the problem of the monster cores had been resolved, Jian Chen only needed time before he could reach the third layer of the chaotic body and gain the power of a Saint King. Newbies still had some hidden essence to refine as well, so the day when he reached Class 8 was not far off either. The patriarch of the Dare tribe naturally felt extremely regretful over their hurried need to depart, but he knew that his small tribe was not enough to get these two great experts to stay. All he could do was add, "All right, let's go to the Menghuang tribe tomorrow and finish them off since the two of you have other important matters to attend. We definitely can't let them off so easily after taking an interest in us." "If it's possible," muttered the patriarch. The light in his eyes flickered as they revealed a bubbling wild ambition. Jian Chen understood that the patriarch wanted to borrow their power to swallow up the Menghuang tribe. He said in reminder, "Patriarch, the two of us are only tasked with blocking and repelling the Menghuang tribe, to prevent them from forming any sort of threat to your tribe. We have not been called on to help you do other things." A space ring appeared in Jian Chen's hand silently and he gently placed it before the patriarch. "Patriarch, here is 2,100,000 grand quality crystal coins. We are returning it to the patriarch. Please accept it." He had obtained all these coins from killing the black-robed old man when he had saved Kaya outside Jas City. The two of them went off to rest after their discussion with the patriarch, planning to pay a visit to the Menghuang tribe the very next day. Although the Sea Realm had no night, they possessed a special way of keeping track of time, guaranteeing that the time here matched up with the world outside. Jian Chen directly entered the artifact to check on the white tiger after he returned to his dwelling. The tiger curled up in the palace constructed by the artifact spirit in the size of a small cat, while a huge pile of 1,000-year or even 10,000-year heavenly resources was placed nearby. In the recent period, Jian Chen had not let the white tiger out and instead made it devour heavenly resources to increase its strength. After all, it was still too weak. It could not deal with any of the problems outside. There were also many more experts in the Sea Realm than on the Tian Yuan continent. In the span of 5 years, the tiger has already reached the 5th cycle as a Heaven Saint Master. It's equal to a cycle a year. He'll probably be able to reach Class 7 in less than a year if he continues like this. At that time, he'll have the ability to flee even if he encounters 9th Heavenly Layer Saint Rulers, muttered Jian Chen as he stared at the white tiger. Afterward, he left the artifact space. In the morning of the next day, several grand presences suddenly began to surge forward from the horizon just as they planned to leave with the patriarch. "Whoever injured the people of my Menghuang tribe, get out here right now and die." A roar of anger resounded from the horizon. It was like a clap of thunder that echoed through the surroundings. 8 ant-like figures quickly approached them along the horizon. "It's the people of the Menghuang tribe," muttered the patriarch as he stared into the distance. "Just when we wanted to go looking for them, they've shown up themselves. Saves us quite some time," sneered newbies. He completely looked down on these newcomers. "The experts of the Menghuang tribe are attacking, the Menghuang tribe is attacking, make all preparations. We will protect the tribe with our lives and die with it if we have to." The Dare tribe that was originally peaceful fell into a mess immediately after the thunderous voice echoed past. Thousands of tribesmen ran out from their huts. Their faces were either filled with determination, fear or dread. The patriarch of the Dare tribe frowned slightly as he saw the tribe instantly fall into mayhem. He bellowed, "Don't worry. Our tribe has the assistance of 2 peak 14th star warriors. We do not need to fear the Menghuang tribe." The members of the tribe remembered that they too had experts from the patriarch's words, so they calmed down immediately. The 8 saint rulers of the Menghuang tribe arrived above the Dare tribe very quickly and surrounded them. The strength of the group caused many people of the Dare tribe to frown. They had a total of 8 saint rulers, far beyond any estimations made by the Dare tribe. Yensen floated high in the sky arrogantly, staring coldly at the people below. He looked at them as he would look at ants and said haughtily, "I am Yensen of the Menghuang tribe, emissary of the Serpent God Hall. Your tribe dared to injure the people of my Menghuang tribe, so today, I, Yensen, will be representing the Serpent God Hall to punish the Dare tribe. Where are the Patriarch and the other 2 accomplices? Why don't you hurry up and come to accept my punishment?" It's Yensen. He's Yensen, the prodigy of the Menghuang tribe. Yensen's an emissary of the Serpent God Hall. His status is extremely great and yet he's actually come to our tribe. We're completely screwed this time. 4 emissaries have come at the same time. Our tribe has no more hope anymore. Even if we have 2 14th star Sea Soul warriors, it won't change anything. Yensen's status as an emissary frightened quite a few people of the Dare tribe and caused them to fall into despair once again despite just regaining some hope earlier. They no longer felt lucky. To them, becoming enemies with the Serpent God Hall was a death sentence. Emissaries of the halls could not be provoked. Chapter 878, 2 against 8. Never did I think he had returned and would even come with 3 other emissaries. The Dare tribe patriarch could not help but become stern after seeing the 4 emissaries in the sky. Their appearance pressured him greatly. What bullshit emissaries! Acting so brazenly before me, the great newbies, have you grown sick of living? Newbies felt no fear. He rushed into the sky with his aura released, facing Yensen's group along with Jian Chen 100 meters in the sky. Yensen stared coldly at the 2 of them and growled, "So you're the 2 who injured the protector elders and the patriarch of my tribe? So what if we did? Brat, do you want to take revenge for them? Too bad you might not be able to with your current strength." Nubis crossed his arms and sneered at Yensen. His tone was scornful. Yensen was a prodigy that rarely appeared even in 1,000 years within the sea realm. He was raised in the palms of his seniors, maturing and being picked as an emissary of the hall. He had also taken an elder as his master. There were only a few people within the Serpent God Hall who could match his status, so he was a prominent figure. Even ordinary 15th star Sea Soul warriors needed to be courteous to him, so how could he, such a highly regarded prodigy, take Nubi's scornful words? He immediately became enraged and a thick killing intent began to pour out from his heart. "I don't care which organization you belong to. I will be taking your life today. You need to learn the consequences of offending me. Do not challenge the dignity of a Serpent God Hall emissary." A trident appeared in Yensen's hand, which he directly used to stab at Nubis. Immediately, the surrounding water attributed energy condensed around the trident before forming a huge, trident-shaped figure. It stabbed toward Nubis with tremendous force. Nubis turned into a blur and shot off into the distance with a slight movement. He said, "There are too many people here. I don't want to injure innocent people, so if you want to fight, come with me." Yensen's trident pierced through the blur left behind by Nubis and caused that region of space to tremble. The residual force shot off into the distance, disintegrating the mountain range over 10 kilometers away. Yensen pulled back the trident and immediately pursued Nubis. The 3 other emissaries followed closely behind him. Jian Chen turned into a flash and followed Nubis. However, just as he did that, the space around him began to shake. A silver-white spear the thickness of an arm shot toward him from behind. The former patriarch of the Menghuang tribe had also struck in that moment against Jian Chen, hitting him silently within a mush. A cold light flashed in his eyes and chaotic force filled every inch of his body. Jian Chen pushed the chaotic body to its limits. A faint, golden glow immediately appeared as the vast energies of the spear struck Jian Chen's back. In this crucial moment, the golden silk mail had blocked the spear's attack. However, the former patriarch was a saint ruler of the 8th heavenly layer. The silk mail was unable to block the power of his attack. Its defenses collapsed while the spear continued onward with a decrease in force and brutally struck Jian Chen in the back. But what happened next caused the 4 experts of the Menghuang tribe to become wide-eyed and drowned in disbelief. The spear did not impale Jian Chen as expected when it struck him and instead came to a stop after it hit. It was unable to continue any further. It seemed like the spear had struck a steel board, not a human. How is that possible? His defense is so powerful. Is he part of the Turtle Clan? The 4 experts all cried out. Not only was their opponent powerful, the toughness of his body was also anomalous. This exceeded all their expectations, immediately pressuring them greatly. This was because it would be extremely difficult for them to pose a threat to an opponent with such powerful defense with their strength. People of the Menghuang tribe, since you've decided to take the initiative and attack, you can't really blame me. Jian Chen pulled out the dragon-slaying sword coldly. He shot toward the 4 experts and began a grand battle with them in the sky. 3 of the 4 were all saint rulers below the 5th heavenly layer. Only the former patriarch belonged to the 8th, but Jian Chen's chaotic body could withstand attacks from the 7th. Together with the golden silk mail, it was extremely difficult for the former patriarch to harm him. On another side, Nubis and Yensen fought each other 100 kilometers away. Yensen was an emissary, so he was much more powerful than ordinary saint rulers. Unfortunately, he was only of the 8th heavenly layer and was not Nubis' opponent at all. He had already fallen into a disadvantaged position as soon as they began fighting. It's like an idiot's dream for you to want to punish me with your strength. Nubis laughed aloud. He detested Yensen's arrogant, condescending attitude, so he did not hold back with the offensive language. Nubis' hands were surrounded by surging saint force. He used his left hand to grab the trident as he slapped Yensen's face with his right. Yensen wanted to dodge, but the surrounding space suddenly froze and trapped him tightly. Even though it only lasted momentarily, it was enough to shave away Yensen's time to dodge or block. Slap. With a crisp blow, Yensen took a solid slap to the face. It was very powerful, causing Yensen's handsome face to swell and bulge. Even a few teeth were knocked out. Yensen became stunned by this slap. He seemed to reject the reality of things. He had displayed a prodigious talent ever since he was young and had grown up in the protection and care of his seniors. Even after he joined the Serpent God Hall, he was raised as a genius. Even most of the other emissaries treated him politely, unwilling to provoke or anger him. This gradually groomed a certain arrogance within him, while Nubis' slap directly knocked the light out of him. He had never been so insulted in his entire life. The 3 emissaries who watched on the side also became stunned as Yensen took the slap. A light of disbelief flooded from their eyes. Yensen was an emissary, as well as the disciple of a hall elder. His status was grand, yet there was actually someone who ignored the pride of the Serpent God Hall by slapping Yensen in the face. This was inconceivable. This was due to the fact that in the territory of the Serpent God Hall, even Saint Kings of peak clans did not dare to treat emissaries as such. The emissaries were equivalent to the spokespeople of the Serpent God Hall. Slapping them was that same as slapping the Serpent God Hall. Yensen returned to his senses very quickly. He immediately fell into a rage as he felt the scorching pain on his face. This rage engulfed his mind and almost drove him mad. Arg! I will kill you! I will kill you, roared Yensen. His eyes became bloodshot. As a person blessed with talent, he could not withstand this humiliation. He immediately began to thrust the trident wildly at Nubis. Nubis causally dodged the attacks and sniggered, "You're dreaming if you want to kill me with your puny strength." As he said that, Nubis threw a fist at Yensen's chest, knocking him flying as he vomited blood. His chest caved in and quite a few ribs broke. Yensen stabilized himself very quickly and swallowed a recovery pill from his space ring. Afterward, he roared at the other 3 people nearby, "All of you get him together. The dignity of the Serpent God Hall cannot be tainted." The 3 other emissaries hesitated slightly, before finally all pulling out their own weapons and beginning their fight with Nubis. The 3 of them were not weak, 2 of them were of the 8th heavenly layer, while the burly, cold-faced emissary was of the 9th. He possessed an equal level of cultivation to newbies. Meanwhile, Jian Shen battled the 4 experts from the Menghuang tribe several kilometers away. The intensity of the battle attracted the attention of all the tribesmen below. Each and every one of them was observing with interest. Such a high-level battle between experts was extremely rare for these weak tribesmen. They gained quite a lot out of it as they watched from below. 3 of the 4 experts had not fully recovered from their injuries. Only the former patriarch possessed his peak strength, so even though they fought Jian Shen with numbers, they still failed to match him evenly. As soon as the battle began, they fell into a disadvantaged position where they were suppressed. Ding! With the ruler armament, Jian Shen possessed the strength of a 9th heavenly layer saint ruler in battle. He flicked the former patriarch's spear away with his sword, before jolting his arm. He stabbed out 3 times instantaneously, each strike with unbelievable speed. He seemed to have cut through time, breaking through the restrictions of space and stabbing 3 of them mercilessly through the chest before they could even react. Fresh blood unceasingly from their wounds. When the sword had impaled them, it left behind a small residue of chaotic force which wreaked havoc in their bodies. Arg! The 3 experts all cried out in pain. Chaotic force rampaged in them, bringing on an unendurable agony. They immediately lost the ability to battle and all fell to the ground before crossing their legs. They circulated all the energy within them to obliterate the strand of chaotic force. Although there was very little of it, the chaotic force was undoubtedly powerful. All they could do was forcefully suppress the chaotic force from tearing through their bodies with their full strength below the 5th heavenly layer. They were unable to purge it immediately. An ear-piercing boom appeared from behind. The former patriarch formed walls of blurs as he wielded his spear which surrounded Jian Shen. The sharp tip stabbed toward Jian Shen with powerful ripples of energy in an attempt to harm him. The corner of Jian Shen's mouth curled up into a scornful smile. His sword was famed for its speed, yet the former patriarch wanted to compete with him in this aspect. This undoubtedly was dooming himself. This was because once speed reached a certain level, the body and arms would also have to withstand a great pressure. Without a powerful body as a support, it could not be increased any further. Jian Shen's powerful body guaranteed him to be the victor in speed. Jian Shen's right arm jolted abruptly. His sword stabbed out with an unbelievable speed as his arm drove it and stabbed out thousands of times in just a short moment. The flashes of the sword packed together densely, layering on top of one another and blotting out the sky. It completely filled up the space before him. Ding! 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 The flashes of swords and spears constantly collided mid-air and produced a series of screeches which completely fused together. Every time they collided, a powerful force would burst out and cause the surrounding space to tremble. Meanwhile, the ground below was also struck by the residue energy, splitting and forming spiderweb cracks. In just a few seconds, the sky full of sword and spear flashes disappeared, revealing Jian Shen and the former patriarch. Chapter 879, Daylight Robbery. Jian Shen stood with his sword in hand. He did not borrow any types of energy to float in the sky, while the wild wind whistled. His clothes flapped freely in the wind as his hair swayed. He stood like an undefeatable war god. After the intense battle, Jian Shen's clothes remained completely untouched other than the hole caused by the initial ambush. On the other hand, the former patriarch was in a worse condition. He was disheveled, covered in countless vicious sword slashes, and his clothes were dyed red. He seemed to be made of blood, which was terrifying. He breathed heavily as he hung at an altitude of 1,000 meters. The 5-meter-long spear drooped powerlessly to the ground as if he no longer had the power to raise it. In his battle with Jian Shen, he suffered an utter loss with his strength as a saint ruler of the 8th heavenly layer. Other than the initial ambush, he had not even managed to touch the corner of Jian Shen's clothes and had instead fallen into such a horrible condition himself. I thank the warrior for your mercy. May I ask who this warrior is and how this warrior would like to be referred as? The former patriarch growled. His voice was slightly feeble. He knew extremely well that Jian Shen had countless chances to kill him before. This was because his attacks were completely suppressed by Jian Shen. The way Jian Shen struck out with the sword was just too fast, reaching an unbelievable level. I belong to no organization. I am Yang Yutian. Jian Shen replied calmly. Whatever. Since the Dare tribe has such a powerful warrior supporting them, we, the Menghuang tribe, will be retreating. According to the rules of our realm, my Menghuang tribe cannot touch the Dare tribe again in the next 100 years, the former patriarch said dejectedly. Even though he was unwilling to give up on this attack, he could do nothing. His tribe possessed Yensen, an emissary of the Serpent God Hall, but the three halls never interfered with battles over territory. Yensen could only bring honor to the Menghuang tribe and elevate their status. They could not use his connection with the Serpent God Hall to strengthen the tribe. Jian Shen's battle had come to a conclusion, but Nubi's had yet to come to an end. 3 8 Heavenly Layer Saint Rulers and 1 9th Heavenly Layer Emissary engaged in an intense battle with Nubi's. Every time they clashed, great booms would ring out while the violent residue energy churned the surroundings. It caused the space to tremble and the ground to crack. You 4 kiddos aren't weak, but too bad your strength in battle is not enough. I can take on 10 of you guys at the same time, said Nubi's as he fought. He fought them easily and skillfully even though there were 4 of them. Probably only Saint Kings could pressure Nubi's nowadays. I won't be messing with you all any longer, in case someone tells me off for wasting time again, Nubi's said with a laugh. His attacks suddenly became vicious, dodging their attacks and plunging his 2 hands into the chests of 2 of the emissaries. He impaled them before he threw a kick at Yensen's head with lightning speed. It jolted up his origin soul and knocked him out immediately. In the blink of an eye, 3 of the 4 emissaries had lost their abilities for battle. The last person was of the 9th heavenly layer and named Dehei. He could not help but react greatly, but he did not choose to retreat. Instead, he wielded his trident as he stabbed it toward Nubi's with all his might. Nubi's stuck out a finger and a golden thread shot from the tip of it. It bound the trident tightly. Nubi's then planted a vicious kick onto Dehei's chest as he took advantage of the situation. Nubi's had basically put all his strength into that kick. It sent Dehei flying off into the distance as he vomited blood, while the bones near the area his foot had landed turned to smithereens. His organs were also greatly wounded and had started to crack. It caused him to bleed from his 7 orifices. All 4 emissaries were knocked to the ground by Nubi's. 1 had fainted directly, while the 3 others were heavily injured and pale-faced. Nubi's descended from the sky and smiled at the 3 emissaries. He mocked them and said, "How is it, you superior emissaries? How's the feeling of being beat up? It must be very novel. Tell me, just who's punishing who? You dare to injure the emissaries of the Serpent God Hall. It doesn't matter who you are, you don't have much time to live, the Hall elders will definitely avenge us. They'll definitely wipe out your soul. The Hall will not accept any offense against emissaries." The 2 people who sucked up to Yensen earlier glared at Nubi's and they ground their teeth. Rage burned in their eyes. As emissaries of the Serpent God Hall, they each had a superiority complex. They believed that they were greater than other people. They could not accept anyone treating them like this, as to them it was a great humiliation. Nubi's was angered. A cold light flickered in his eyes, while stern killing intent appeared on his face. He sneered, "Heh, quite brave to say that I'll have my soul wiped out. Since that's the case, why don't I let you experience it first? What arrogance. I doubt you have the courage to kill an emissary of the Hall," said one of them with a snicker at his threat. "Since you want to die so badly, I'll grant your wish." Killing intent swelled in Nubi's eyes. 5 fine golden threads suddenly shot from his fingertips, turning into 5 streaks of golden light as they shot for the center of their eyebrows. He intended to wipe out their souls. The surrounding space froze abruptly at the same time under Nubi's control. He tightly locked the 3 of them in place, preventing any of them from escaping. All they could do was watch as their deaths drew near. The expression of the emissary who had provoked Nubi's earlier finally changed as he sensed Nubi's killing intent. A shred of fear permeated his heart. He had never thought that there would be someone foolish enough to kill an emissary in the territory of the Serpent God Hall. In that moment, their minds all fell into disarray. They were superior emissaries who possessed highly regarded statuses with bright future. Reaching the 15th star was only an issue of time for them. None of them wanted to die right now. Newbies, stop! A yell appeared from far away at this moment. It was Jian Shen who quickly drew near. The golden thread stopped an inch away from the emissaries' foreheads. Newbies glanced toward Jian Shen. He hesitated slightly before he pulling his hand back and releasing the golden threads. Jian Shen arrived beside Newbies. Newbies, just spare their lives. All right. Since you're speaking for them, I'll just spare their lives this time. But we need to take their space rings, said Newbies. Jian Shen did not reject this idea. Ever since they had come to the Sea Realm, what they lacked the most was money. The 4 emissaries probably possessed quite a lot of it in their space rings, and collecting some could never be a bad thing. If they ever came across something important that they required, at least they would not have to worry about money. When they heard how Newbies wanted to take their space rings, the 3 of them reacted immediately. One of them cried out, "No, you can't take our space rings." Newbies' face darkened as he spoke, "Your space rings or your life. Choose one. If you want to live, then leave behind your space rings. Otherwise, I'm not going to be showing any mercy." The 3 of them dwelled on this matter for quite some time, before finally coming to an agreement. They unwillingly took off their space rings and handed them over to Newbies. Afterward, Newbies arrived before the fainted Yensen and also took his ring. The expressions of the 3 conscious emissaries immediately became extremely ugly as they watched Yensen's space ring get taken. They all gritted their teeth without saying anything. "All right, you can leave." Newbies waved his hand and dismissed the 3 of them impatiently. The 3 emissaries endured their injuries as they stood up, leaving with dirty appearances and Yensen on their backs. Newbies played around with the 4 space rings and said, "They should have quite a lot of crystal coins in there as emissaries. Let's go first. We've helped the Dare tribe deal with the Menghuang tribe, so it's about time we left," said Jian Shen. Afterward, they returned to the Dare tribe once again. When they returned, they witnessed the Dare tribe patriarch and the Menghuang tribe patriarch signing something similar to a blood contract. The contract was a rule for determining the victor in the conflicts between organizations. "You 4 hand over the space rings on you," Newbies said arrogantly to the 4 of them. The 4 experts all reacted with frowns as they heard these words. The former patriarch controlled himself and said, "According to the rules, we only need to pay up some crystal coins. Taking the space rings is something that breaks the rules. We can't do that." "Shut the fuck up, what bullshit rules, hurry up and cough up the space rings," growled Newbies. He was actually using the situation to rob people. The expressions of the 4 experts of the Menghuang tribe changed. However, due to Newbies and Jian Chen's strength, they felt extremely intimidated. As a result, they said nothing and obediently took off their space rings, handing them over to Newbies. Chapter 880. A mysterious key. The 4 experts of the Menghuang tribe were forced to give their space rings to Newbies and then left with their injuries. Jian Shen did not take their lives and removed the sliver of chaotic force in the 3 of them. Even if you ignored the fact that he really did not have any hatred for them, the Menghuang tribe also had a person who was a part of the Serpent God Hall. Killing these 3 would probably cause some problems. Jian Shen had only come to the Sea Realm to seek refuge and gain some more time to power up. He naturally did not wish for something like that to happen. "Patriarch, since the matters regarding the Menghuang tribe has been resolved, we have completed our mission. We shall bid you farewell." Jian Shen said it plainly with clasped hands to the Dare tribe patriarch after the departure of the group from the Menghuang tribe. "Warriors, you must be exhausted from the battle before. Why don't you rest for a few days with my tribe, so that we can properly thank you for your deeds," urged the patriarch. Jianchen shook his head. I thank the Patriarch for his goodwill, but we really have important things that we need to go deal with. We cannot delay any longer. Jianchen and Nubis left immediately after declining the Patriarch. They had come to the Sea Realm to increase their strength and not to play. They could not waste too much time on these miscellaneous matters. The Patriarch secretly sighed inside as he watched Jianchen and Nubis leave. He mumbled, just how great would it have been if those two powerful warriors could stay with our tribe forever? It's a pity my puny tribe can't take them in. The Grand Elder of the tribe walked over to the Patriarch's side. Patriarch, the two warriors have injured the 4 emissaries from the Serpent God Hall. Do you think the Hall will take this as offense? The Grand Elder was worried. The Patriarch shook his head. Battles between emissaries and tribes itself is already breaking the rules of the Hall. It'll be very fortunate for them if they avoid punishment once they get back. Why would the Hall punish us over such small matters? The tribes like the citizens of the Hall. The Hall does not take part in arguments and disagreements between citizens unless it gets out of hand. They don't just take sides so casually. Nubis and Jianchen traveled at an altitude of 1,000 meters. Nubis constantly sniggered as he played around with the 8 space rings. He was guessing just how many crystal coins there were in there. Along the way, the two of them encountered many groups of saint rulers and even saint kings who were looking around. They were searching for the traces of the Octaterra map fragment. They would stop human saint rulers and class 7 magical beasts whenever they came across any and would question them. Some saint kings even chose to take a more brutal method, directly taking and looking through their space rings. Jianchen and Nubis had been stopped many times as well, but since their presences were the sea races, very few people came forward to look for trouble on purpose. However, they did come across a few unreasonable groups of saint rulers who wanted to search through their space rings forcefully, and this almost led to battle. Jianchen and Nubis were on the move for an entire day before they finally stopped when they arrived at a desolate mountain range. They carved out a cave in the depths of the range and settled down temporarily. They wanted to spend the next period of time cultivating. Jianchen did not rush over the matter of searching for the Octaterra map. There were experts everywhere in search of the map fragment right now, so if these experts found out they were the ones in possession of the fragment, the pair would be hunted down by everyone. At that time, keeping it would become extremely difficult. Jianchen lodged a luminous pearl into the roof of the cave and the darkness was illuminated slightly. On the other hand, Nubis squatted down on the side and began to look through the 8 space rings. Nubis really gained quite the harvest this time. There were great quantities of crystal coins, a total of over 30 million, as well as some miscellaneous items in the rings. The amount astonished the two of them. There were also some cultivation methods, insight on cultivation, as well as 2 heaven-tier battle skills. However, they were only useful for Heaven Saint Masters and meant nothing to the two of them, so Nubis casually threw them to one side. At this very moment, an extremely obscure energy began to radiate from the large pile of objects. It drew in Nubis' curiosity, so he poured out the pile from the space ring before he started to rummage through it. An ordinary metal square box around 30 centimeters long and wide was soon pulled out. Nubis examined it curiously and said, "The thing inside must be very valuable." He then proceeded to open it slowly. The metal box was made of a very special material. Obviously, it could isolate and block out the ripples of energy inside. It was extremely difficult to discover any energy radiations when it was closed, but as soon as it was opened, it would begin to pervade the surroundings. The energy was powerful and vast, like an emperor of the world. With its appearance, the water-attributed energy in the radius of several dozen kilometers quietened down as if they were scared. It was also like they had met their ruler and they all fell to the ground in subservience. That's too obvious. It'll attract the attention of other experts. Hurry up and enter the saint artifact, Jianchen growled. Before he could take a closer look at the object in the box, a streak of golden light shot out from between his eyebrows and turned into a golden tower. Afterward, it sucked the two of them into the artifact space with the metal box. A woman silently appeared in the empty cave after they had been sucked away. She was elegant and her face was concealed by a veil. If Jian Shen and Nubis saw her, they would definitely recognize her as that mysterious woman who gave them the water spirit's pearls. The light in the woman's eyes flickered as they became icy. She murmured, "Never would I think that some emperors charged into the sea of despair and obtained a piece of abyssal crystal, then forged it into a key. Did you really think you could find me with that key?" Jian Shen and Nubis suddenly appeared in the central hall of the artifact space. A cool aura immediately began to expand from all directions with them as the center. It filled the surrounding region with dense water-attributed energy. "Master, what's that?" The artifact spirit appeared silently beside Jian Shen. The light in his eyes flickered with suspicion as he stared at the object in the metal box curiously. Jian Shen and Nubis stared fixedly at the item in the box. Currently, the box had been completely encased in a ball of water blue light. They could vaguely see a palm-sized key lying inside. All the bright light originated from the key. Jian Shen carefully lifted the key from the box to examine it. The blue light illuminated their faces, dyeing the two of them blue. They seemed rather demonic. "It's actually a key." "Is this the key to some treasure?" said Nubis as a guess. Jian Shen pondered about the key before returning it to the box. He slowly closed the lid and growled, "This key must open something important. It can't be for something insignificant. I just wonder whether the item belongs to the emissary himself or the Serpent God Hall. If it was only his, then that would be easy, though it would be problematic if it was the Hall's." "Jian Shen, looks like we need to find another place that's even further away before we go into secluded cultivation. Just in case the people of the Serpent God Hall come looking for us," Nubis suggested. Jian Shen nodded. "Artifact spirit, I'll leave the box here with you for now. Take care of it for me." "Yes, master." The artifact spirit replied hurriedly. Jian Shen left the artifact space with Nubis afterward. They returned to the cave. They no longer wanted to stick around the area. They quickly shoved the pile back into the space ring and left immediately. They flew away. At the same time, the four emissaries, including Yensen, returned to the Serpent God Hall in a horrible shape. They narrated what they had experienced on the way to a hall elder. The hall elder was a burly man in sleeveless clothes. His face was vicious and radiated with a brutal aura. The emissaries all trembled before him as they experienced a fear from the very depths of their souls. This was equivalent to the pressure of a bloodline, a phenomenon when the weak faced the strong. "What? You actually lost it?" The hall elder fell into a rage when he heard that the four of them had lost their space rings. His eyes quickly narrowed into a glare. They became like two swords that could make space tremble stab the void. All four emissaries knelt on the ground as they trembled. They were terrified. "You four pieces of trash. The reason why we got the four of you to bring it back was to deceive others. Haven't those pathetic elders told you just how important that item is to the Serpent God Hall before you left? Not only did you go to provoke others when carrying something so important, you even lost it in the end. Do I have any reason to keep you all around?" The middle-aged man broke into a howl. He directly threw a punch toward the four of them as he reached the end of these words. "Charlie, calm down," boomed an old voice. Immediately, a blue screen of light appeared and encased the four emissaries. As the man's fist collided with the blue screen, it began to tremble violently before it shattered in the end. The remaining force landed mercilessly on the four emissaries, causing them to all vomit blood. They shot back like cannonballs and struck the wall behind them viciously. An old man walked in unhurriedly with a cane. The burly man stared coldly at him and growled, "Look at the good disciple you took in. He has actually lost something so important. You should know just how important that item is to the Hall Master. Neither of us can bear the wrath of the Hall Master." The old man replied calmly, "Charlie, the item has already been lost. Even if you kill the four of them, it won't be of any help. Our top priority is to get it back before the Hall Master comes out of seclusion. We need to fix our mistakes." Chapter 881, Xie Wang's submission. Charlie was calmed down by the old man before turning to the 4 emissaries. Tell me what happened in detail again. Esteemed hall elder, this was what happened. When we were hurrying back to the hall with the item, we came across Jensen's tribe, so we stopped for a while. His tribe just happened to be facing a threat where 3 of their experts had been injured. As a result, Jensen led our group of us to go settle it. The 4 of us were defeated by an extremely powerful person at the other tribe and also had our space rings taken. Yeah, not only did they take our space rings, they wanted to kill us. They have no respect for the Serpent God Hall. They looked down on us. The 2 emissaries that had curried up to Jensen each added something. They were furious as if the dignity of the hall was more important than anything else. The old man looked toward the silent Dehe and asked, Dehe, is that true? He nodded. They have indeed told the truth, esteemed hall elder. Then what are we waiting for? Hurry up and send people to catch them. We need to get the item back. Charlie ordered immediately. The old man nodded slightly. The existence of that item cannot be leaked. Once the Sea Goddess Hall and Heaven's Spirit Hall learn about it, things will become problematic, so send people who won't draw a lot of attention this time. We can't send too many and they can't be too strong. Dehe, how strong were the people who took your space rings? Dehe thought about it and replied, Esteemed hall elder, they should be at the peak of the 14th star according to my battle with them. However, they're extremely powerful, equal to some 15th star sea soul warriors. If that's the case, we'll send 2 15th star elders, as well as the 4 of you since you can recognize them, said the old man. Yes, esteemed hall elder, replied the 4 emissaries in unison. Remember, this is your only chance to redeem yourselves. If you can bring it back, then all will be fine. Should you fail, the wrath of the hall master will be waiting for you, growled Charlie with a pale face. Charlie's stern words caused the 4 emissaries to tremble. Dread and uneasiness skyrocketed in their hearts, reaching their heads. They could not help but tremble. Right now, they were full of regret. If they had known something like this would have happened, why would they commit this mistake? Quickly, the 4 of them left the hall with 2 15th star elders and headed directly for the Dare tribe. As the group of people moved out, Jian Shen and Nubis were also traveling away. Jian Shen held a map in his hand as he looked around to confirm their location while traveling. He wanted to make sure that they were not lost. They only stopped after several tens of thousand kilometers. They had come across a desolate, ancient forest. Jian Shen looked around and murmured, we should be around 70 or 80,000 kilometers from the Dare tribe now. It should be safe. Let's stay here for now. We can return to the Tian Yuan continent after we become strong enough, said Nubis. The 2 of them descended, carving out another temporary cave dwelling. As they did that, the 4 emissaries arrived at the Dare tribe with 2 unimpressive old men. They called out as they floated in the sky, where is the patriarch of the tribe? Come out. The patriarch immediately left the main hall when he heard the voice. His face immediately twitched when he noticed the 4 emissaries, before directing his attention to the 2 ordinary-looking old men behind them. His heart sank as he felt an ill omen. I am the patriarch. Is there anything I can help the emissaries with? The patriarch replied with clasped hands. He was extremely polite. Where did the 2 of them go? Call them out. Jensen glared at the patriarch as he yelled this out. He was now much more confident with 2 15th star experts supporting him. Esteemed emissaries, the 2 warriors have already left quite some time ago. They're not in our tribe anymore, the patriarch replied meekly. What? They've left? The 4 emissaries immediately became ugly. In which direction did they go off? Where did they go? This time, the speaker was one of the old men. The patriarch extended his hand in the direction Jian Shen and Nubis had flown off. The 2 warriors went that way. As for where they went off to, I have no idea. Many tribesmen had witnessed the direction Jian Shen and Nubis had flown off to. As a result, the patriarch could only tell the truth. He could not afford to play around with the people of the hall. Pursue them. The 4 emissaries and 2 old men immediately left in the direction the patriarch had provided without any hesitation. Jian Shen and newbies had already entered secluded cultivation in the depths of the forest. They were working hard on increasing their strength. 100 kilometers away from them, a white-robed, malicious-looking young man carefully made his way through the vegetation. He quickly approached Jian Shen and newbies' dwelling with his presence erased. "I need to obtain the divine water. You can't escape me no matter where you run off to." The man's determination was unrelenting. He was the expert who had fought with Jian Shen in the auction, Xie Wang. Xie Wang had found Jian Shen's location through an unknown method. He erased his presence and approached the cave quickly and silently, passing through the barrier successfully using a special technique that did not alert the barrier owner. He entered the cave where Jian Shen cultivated. Jian Shen currently sat on the ground with his eyes closed and legs crossed. He was in a state of deep concentration and did not notice that someone had invaded their dwelling at all. Xie Wang's heart had already stopped beating. His body was cold too, the same temperature as the surroundings. He seemed to have melded perfectly with the surroundings. Xie Wang stared calmly at Jian Shen at the entrance of the cave. He thought, "You're the weakest, so handling you should be easier. Once I wound you, I'll use you to threaten the other person to hand over the divine water." He proceeded with his thoughts, gently approaching Jian Shen. He then struck out with lightning speed and directly went for Jian Shen's heart. Xie Wang's hand passed through Jian Shen's chest without much difficulty, but his heart sank, an afterimage. Xie Wang's reactions were extremely fast. He turned around suddenly, only to see Jian Shen standing there unharmed and looking back at him scornfully. "Xie Wang, did you find last time not enough and have come back for some more?" A lazy voice sounded from outside. Newbies who had stayed in another cave walked in with his arms crossed, standing beside Jian Shen. Xie Wang's face scrunched up into a scowl. He cried out, "Impossible. I used my innate ability to enter here silently. How did you discover me? You tailed us the whole way, maintaining a distance of 1,000 kilometers. You were discovered long ago. Though, I need to say that your innate talent is extremely powerful. You could actually pass through the barrier cast down by us. You probably really would have succeeded if it was someone else. Too bad it was us," smiled Jian Shen. "That's my misfortune, then." Xie Wang gritted his teeth before directly he shot upward. He burst through the rock in an attempt to escape. "Leaving's not so easy." Newbie's mouth curled into a sneer. He too burst through the rock like Xie Wang, blocking Xie Wang's path. Xie Wang glared coldly at Newbies and growled, "I may not be able to beat you in battle, but you can't stop me from leaving." "Really now?" Newbies stared at Xie Wang scornfully and said, "Do you think you're the only one with innate abilities and that I don't have any?" Xie Wang's expression immediately changed. He did not know how to reply. Jian Shen also flew up and said, "Xie Wang, you put so much effort into tailing us over tens of thousand kilometers. Do you really just want to leave like this? Don't you want your divine water anymore?" Xie Wang snorted coldly. He said nothing as he thought of a way to escape. "You only move alone. You want the divine water to break through to the 15th star. How about this? You follow us in the future and I'll take responsibility for your breakthrough," smiled Jian Shen. A surprised light flashed across Xie Wang's eyes. He stared back fixedly. "With the divine water as remuneration?" "Correct." Jian Shen replied. "You're willing to give me the divine water in your possession?" "No. I won't be giving you the divine water. However, I can guarantee that I will obtain more divine water in 50 years' time at most." "There will definitely be your share," swore Jian Shen. The divine water only appears once in 1,000 years. It's impossible for more to appear in the next 50 years, while the divine realm where it comes from is riddled with dangers. It's almost certain death if you venture into it, growled Xie Wang. "That's not your problem. You only need to know that you will be obtaining divine water within 50 years, said Jian Chen. Why should I trust you? You can only trust me because that's your only chance of obtaining it. Xie Wang became silent. The light in his eyes was uneasy as if he was stuck in a great dilemma. He did not have long left. If he did not break through, he had a little over 100 years of life at most. All right, I agree. I will follow you from now onward, but you need to give me the divine water within 50 years. Xie Wang agreed in the end after much deliberation. He did not have much choice at all. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.